He looked at Nangong Hao, realizing he was unharmed, and could not help but laugh. Following brother is indeed the right choice. Had it been anyone else by my side, I would have been in trouble long ago. You're aware of the potential for trouble. Henceforth, do not seize opportunities indiscriminately, Nangong Hao cautioned. Fine, I almost wish to gift you a divine elixir, brother. So Wuishcht. Chapter 223, Poison Dragon Pearl. Ambushed Nangong Hao remained unfazed. Su Wuhui's fortune was indeed formidable, yet also brought corresponding misfortune. More importantly, Nangong Hao sought to acquire what he desired without relying on luck. His previous ambushes against various fortunate individuals stemmed merely from a sense of dark amusement. Now, with Su Wuhui's immense fortune, he did not resort to killing or plundering. Nangong Hao led Su Wuhui deeper into the realm in search of opportunities. The Dragon Emperor Palace should be a colossal treasure, and the Li Long clan surely possessed knowledge of its mechanisms. However, Nangong Hao was convinced that mastering this place would require a price. Those beings who pursued the Li Long would likely become sacrifices for the Li Long clan. Yet, the two had not ventured far when Nangong Hao abruptly halted. Su Wuhui understood the reason and remarked coolly, I also possess the power of time. I cannot drive them away. At this moment, numerous undaunted individuals trailed closely behind Nangong Hao and Su Wuhui. Although they had suffered significant losses earlier, it did not deter everyone, particularly the 7 most powerful beings who had long tracked Su Wuhui. Nangong Hao stated coldly, I do not appreciate being followed, so I offer you an opportunity to depart. No beings left. In fact, a mocking sneer echoed from the shadows. Observing this, Nangong Hao decided to be merciless. He activated his heavenly eye to survey the surroundings. All methods of concealment were laid bare before him. Subsequently, a massive clock materialized behind him, and the power of time surged forth like a torrential flood, crushing everything in its path. The strong beings gasped in shock and retreated hastily. They had not anticipated that Nangong Hao would resort to such formidable divine powers merely to drive them away. It was important to note that there was no spiritual energy to replenish their strength here. If he continued to unleash such energy-draining powers, how long could he sustain it? Yet, Nangong Hao showed no hesitation, persistently wielding the power of time to crush those individuals. Most of the beings fled in terror. A few, however, emboldened by their own strength, stubbornly refused to retreat. Among them was even a sovereign king who chose to follow Su Wuhui. Nangong Hao's expression turned frigid as he hurled 2 forbidden artifacts. Boom! The violent force radiated, engulfing the heavens and earth. The explosive power caused the Dragon Emperor Palace to tremble violently once more. The beings tracking Su Wuhui were swiftly decimated by over half. Even that arrogant sovereign king was forced to flee in disarray. Nangong Hao was ruthless, employing forbidden artifacts and detonating them outright. Had he chosen to suppress them with the artifacts, they might have resisted. But such self-detonation was unbearable. Standing with his hands clasped behind his back, Nangong Hao surveyed the surroundings like a war god surveying his domain, exuding unparalleled dominance. Su Wuhui watched in astonishment, his mouth agape. Brother, how is it that you are even more extravagant than I? Su Wuhui remarked, feeling hesitant to destroy his own forbidden artifact like Nangong Hao did. Nang Hao ziplit nun jialen. Surely you possess a considerable number of forbidden artifacts as well. Do you mean to say you do not even have an imperial weapon? I do, but it is merely defensive in nature. Moreover, I am rather lazy. Since acquiring it, I have yet to refine it. Thus, I am incapable of forging any forbidden artifacts. Su Wuhui admitted, feeling somewhat embarrassed. Nangong Hao let out a gentle sigh. Another found artifact, I should have refrained from asking. Let us proceed. Wait a moment. Su Wuhui exclaimed as he dashed to the side, shortly returning with a round, green orb. The orb was a vivid emerald, exuding wisps of green vapor that seemed to emanate a potent toxicity. Yet, Su Wuhui held it in his hand without a trace of fear. Is this a dragon pearl? Nangong Hao raised an eyebrow. The dragon pearl is formed when a dragon perishes, condensing its entire strength into a single entity. It not only contains the formidable power of the dragon clan, but also their divine abilities. Once refined, one can obtain these powers. The green orb in question was likely a toxic dragon pearl. The dragon clan, led by the 5-clawed golden dragon, included many other pure-color dragons such as black, red, and blue dragons, each wielding a diverse range of powers. However, the toxic dragon was exceedingly rare, with only 1 or 2 existing in the entire ancient era. The toxic dragon pearl was even more elusive, a treasure not easily acquired, even by emperors. though Nangu Hao had grown accustomed to Su Wuhui's fortuitous encounters. The sight of this toxic dragon pearl left him momentarily speechless. "Brother, I recall you possess the dragon god transformation. Do take this." Su Wuhui smiled, narrowing his eyes into crescent shapes that radiated innocence. He genuinely intended to gift it to Nangu Hao. After a brief hesitation, Nangu Hao accepted it. The dragon god transformation would allow him to embody the dragon clan, drawing upon their auspicious energies. Unfortunately, it could only utilize the dragon's form for physical impacts, lacking any formidable divine techniques. Absorbing this toxic dragon pearl would be immensely beneficial to him. As Nangu Hao took the toxic dragon pearl, he felt a surge of terrifying poison rushing into his body. It turned out the pearl had been accumulating power, poised to deliver a lethal strike to Su Wuhui. At this moment, by transferring the pearl to Nangu Hao, the danger was diverted. Of course, Su Wuhui was unaware of this, merely escaping peril through his fortunate fate, successfully shifting the threat onto Nangu Hao. With a sigh, Nangu Hao reflected that he had sighed more today than usual. However, his expression soon turned cold. A mere toxic dragon pearl dares to be so audacious? The Chaos Green Lotus instantly absorbed the toxin from the pearl, causing no harm to Nangu Hao. Simultaneously, he absorbed sufficient power, activating the lotus leaf of the Path of Poison. He swiftly refined the toxic dragon pearl. With the Path of Poison, the process was remarkably effortless. The raging power contained within the toxic dragon pearl surged into his body. It was redirected to the Yuhuang seal, where the sacred spirit eagerly absorbed it. Nangu Hao remarked, "Acclimate to this power, and soon you shall discover even greater treasures." In that instant, a toxic dragon divine ability manifested in his mind, the toxic divine needle. This technique allowed the condensation of a needle imbued with lethal poison, capable of annihilating deities. Nangu Hao nodded with satisfaction. "Very well, let us depart." Seeing Nangu Hao unharmed and accepting his gift, Su Wuhui smiled and followed closely behind. The interior of the Dragon Emperor Palace was remarkably vast, once accommodating many dragons, who must have resided atop the Divine Mountain. Nangu Hao gazed into the distance, fixing his sights on a majestic peak, and charged toward it. Upon reaching the base of the mountain, he looked up in awe. The summit was shrouded in clouds and mist, with jagged rocks peppering the landscape, and dragon energy coiling around, lending an air of sanctity to the place. If one listened closely, they could faintly hear the echoes of dragon roars. As Nangu Hao pondered this, a massive net suddenly surged from the ground, ensnaring both him and Su Wuhui. Su Wuhui was taken aback, having never been caught off guard before. Nangu Hao promptly activated his spatial divine abilities, only to find them shackled. His entire strength was restrained, rendering him incapable of launching any attacks. It seemed this net was a mysterious, forbidden artifact. Do not struggle. It is futile, Bifang Tianjiao sneered as he appeared. Chapter 224. The Cursed Path achieves remarkable feats, seeing several members of the Bifang clan materialize, including the formidable Bifang Saint King. Nangu Hao remained unperturbed, calmly sitting within the net and stating, "It appears we have kept you waiting for quite some time." A most arrogant human, and a most fortunate one at that. For the two of you, waiting is a worthy endeavor. Bifang Tianjiao replied coldly. Su Wuhui turned to Nangu Hao, asking, "Should I make a wish so we can escape?" Given their ability to capture you, they must possess a means to suppress your fortune. Struggling would be futile, Nangu Hao advised. Bifang Tianjiao mocked Su Wuhui, saying, "He speaks the truth. What is fortune here? This is the Dragon Emperor Palace, at the foot of the Divine Mountain. Suppressing you with the Dragon Clan's fortune is a trivial matter." Fortunately, Su Wuhui had come to terms with the fact that his fortune was not omnipotent, and he was not overly angered. Nangu Hao then turned his gaze to the Bifang Saint King, stating indifferently, "You have reached the divine level, have you not?" Bifang Saint King retorted scornfully, "I did not expect a human from such a remote place to be aware of the classification of the Saint King realm." Beside them, Su Wuhui was displeased. "My brother is inquiring. Answer him directly instead of resorting to mockery. Is it not disgraceful for a Bifang of ancient blood to fail to reach the divine level?" The expression of the Bifang Saint King turned icy in an instant. "Su Wuhui, do not presume that your fortune makes you exceptional. In my hands, you shall wish for death." Su Wuhui promptly produced his imperial artifact, a turtle shell-shaped item, slightly damaged yet emanating an ancient aura. This was his defensive treasure. He intended to emulate Nangu Hao and ignite the artifact in an explosion. The members of the Bifang clan changed color in alarm. Nanga Hao quickly intervened. There is no need for that. It is merely a divine net. I can resolve this with the toxic divine needle. To prevent Su Wuhui from triggering the explosion of the Imperial artifact, Nanga Hao discreetly summoned another of his duplicates, which transformed into a colossal wild dragon in the sky. The wild dragon opened its maw, coalescing a green poisonous needle, which it aimed at the Bifong Saint King. This was indeed the toxic dragon pearl divine ability that Nanga Hao had just acquired. The Bifong Saint King, initially bewildered by the appearance of the Dragon Clan, was suddenly shrouded in the shadow of death upon seeing the green needle. Not good, he exclaimed in terror, reverting to his original form and soaring away rapidly. As he fled, the wild dragon lunged forward, tearing apart the net that bound Nanga Hao. Both he and Su Wuhui easily escaped. The other 3 members of the Bifong clan were still in shock. Nanga Hao swiftly appeared behind one of the Bifong youths, stating, "Remember this next time, do not rely too heavily on others." The Bifong youth's expression turned to one of horror. No. Yet, regardless of his desperate cries, he could not alter his fate. Nanga Hao pierced through his body with a tattered longsword, slaying him, although aware that this youth possessed means to resurrect elsewhere. His demise would come at a significant cost. Just then, Su Wuhui rushed over and drew a peculiar symbol over the corpse of the Bifong youth. Nanga Hao glanced at it and instantly understood. The Path of Curse? Indeed, Su Wuhui replied, squinting with a smile, still radiating that innocent demeanor. Meanwhile, in the extreme southern territories of the Bifong clan, a figure slowly coalesced within a hidden chamber, that of the Bifong youth who had just been obliterated. His face contorted with a ghastly expression, his body not yet fully coalesced. He gritted his teeth and swore a venomous oath. "Nangong Hao, how dare you kill me? I will ensure that every man of the Nangong family perishes and that their women become mere slaves. I shall annihilate all beings in the Eastern Desolation." The Bifong clan possessed such power that even a mere fraction of their strength could easily eradicate the entire Eastern Desolation. Yet, just as the prodigy of the Bifong clan was about to issue his commands, he suddenly became aware of a strange force entwining around him. This was a curse. The Bifong prodigy cried out in terror. Subsequently, his body shattered inch by inch. Despite his desperate cries for mercy and the efforts of powerful members of the Bifong clan responding to his plight, he could not be saved. Nangong Hao had anticipated the fate of the Bifong prodigy. He utilized the path of space to escape the encirclement of the Bifong clan, accompanied by Su Wuhui, and made their way to Longhuang Mountain. The Sage King of the Bifong clan had reached divine level, possibly even becoming a deity, rendering it unnecessary to engage in a direct confrontation. Seeking opportunities was of paramount importance. Upon witnessing Nangong Hao's departure, the Sage King of the Bifong clan erupted in fury. "Pursue him. We must kill him." Atop Longhuang Mountain, Nangong Hao and Su Wuhui pressed onward. Su Wuhui, filled with curiosity, inquired, "Elder brother, why not eliminate those 3 fellows? Together, we could certainly accomplish it. If you take action, it would satisfy the expectations of the Lilong clan. Although they have allied with the Bifong clan, they indeed fear their strength, concerned they might compete for opportunities. I am uncertain how the Lilong clan persuaded the Bifong clan to lay an ambush against us, but they must have had intentions to divert the Bifong clan, making their eradication unnecessary. It is best to lead them upward." Nangong Hao slowed his pace, awaiting the Bifong clan. It was unavoidable. The speed of space manipulation was simply too swift for the rapid path to keep up. Su Wuhui nodded in realization. "I understand now. This should be what the storytellers refer to as driving the tiger to swallow the wolf, correct?" "That is indeed the case," Nangong Hao replied with a smile. Longhuang Mountain was likely the former residence of the Dragon Clan's emperor, possessing splendid scenery and being quite suitable for enlightenment. However, Nangong Hao paid little heed to such matters as he ascended the mountain. Before long, Nangong Hao reached the mountain's midway point. The mountain was exceedingly high, requiring multiple uses of spatial teleportation to reach this elevation. The members of the Bifong clan were struggling even more in their pursuit. However, to Nangong Hao's astonishment, those beings who had arrived long before were only a short distance ahead and had not ascended the mountain quickly. Observing those beings laboriously climbing, it appeared they bore a tremendous burden. Nangong Hao frowned. Could it be that Longhuang Mountain possesses a formidable repulsion against foreign races? "It is possible," Su Wuhui nodded. "Then why are you unaffected?" Nangong Hao had indeed not sensed any trace of dragon lineage from Su Wuhui. "I possess a royal artifact, the shell of the Dragon King's son. It remains undetectable unless activated," Su Wuhui shrugged. Nangong Hao understood, then gazed towards the mountain peak, lost in contemplation. Should he allow those beings to ascend first? If he ventured up alone, he would have some confidence. Bringing Su Wuhui along, who could predict what kind of commotion this individual might stir? Just as Nangong Hao hesitated over whether to ascend quickly, a commotion erupted at the mountainside. Someone was fighting over something. Nangong Hao activated his celestial vision and discovered it to be a dragon blood herb, a rare species nurtured with true dragon blood. It could enhance the physical body and refine one's bloodline. However, the Lilong clan did not participate in the skirmish. Rather, it was some half-dragon beings engaging in the fray. These half-dragons possessed dragon blood, albeit diluted. The dragon blood herb was an irresistible temptation for them. Nangong Hao dismissed the altercation, but noticed a peculiar creature among the crowd. It was an extraterrestrial being, adorned with a single horn atop its head and sporting dual wings, one blue and the other red. A strange power enveloped it. Nangong Hao merely glanced at the creature, yet it sensed his presence and immediately turned its gaze toward him. To his astonishment, the creature's eyes were vertical pupils, one blue and one red, an exceedingly bizarre sight. This is an extraterrestrial being. Nangong Hao thought instinctively upon seeing it. However, the extraterrestrial being paid little mind to Nangong Hao and instead assisted a tiger dragon in seizing the dragon blood herb. How intriguing. It was unexpected to encounter an extraterrestrial being so soon. Nangong Hao mused with a smile. Su Wuhui's eyes brightened. Where are they? I want to see what they look like. Just as Nangong Hao was about to point, he realized the creature had vanished. Was it employing the path of disguise or the path of illusion? Nangong Hao wore an intrigued expression. His celestial vision could not penetrate the being's concealment, indicating it was indeed using the power of the path to resist him. Su Wuhui immediately declared, "Let me." He produced an object the size of a human head, and upon closer inspection, Nangong Hao discovered it was an eye. The eye was pitch black, exuding an aura of malevolence, reminiscent of the eye of some ancient evil deity. As Su Wuhui infused it with spiritual energy, the eye gradually awakened and emitted a beam of spiritual light. The light shot down toward the crowd below, instantly enveloping everyone. The disguises of those beings shattered in an instant. Some revealed themselves from their hidden states, while others returned to their true forms. The previously disguised extraterrestrial being was forced to revert to its original appearance. It turned out it had rendered itself transparent, slowly approaching Nangong Hao and Su Wuhui with the intent to strike. Now exposed by Su Wuhui's actions, the extraterrestrial being appeared startled and quickly spread its wings to flee. Nangong Hao let out a cold snicker, extending his hand as shadows enveloped the creature, swiftly ensnaring it. "Tell me, what is your purpose in coming to Longhuang Palace?" Nangong Hao said coolly. A mere lowly being from the Tianyu world dares to speak to me in such a manner?" The extraterrestrial being, despite being captured, retained an air of superiority. Clearly, beings of its kind did not hold the Guangyuan Tianyu in high regard. Nangong Hao waved his hand, severing the extraterrestrial being's arms. With a shish sound, golden blood sprayed forth, carrying with it an inexplicable energy. It seemed this extraterrestrial being was indeed a higher life form. "Ah, you dare harm me?" The extraterrestrial being wailed in pain and disbelief. "Speak, what do you intend to scheme?" Nangong Hao continued to interrogate. "I will kill you. I will kill you." The extraterrestrial being flapped its remaining wings desperately, red and blue light surging forth, instantly filling the entire sky. That was the primordial power of water and fire. The water summoned from the Bailuo could drown deities, while the fire descended from the sun could incinerate an entire world. Unfortunately, those two forces inflicted no harm upon Nangong Hao. He tore through the void, directly sending those two energies to the mountain peak. A furious roar erupted from the summit, evidently from the Lilong clan. Meanwhile, with another swift motion, Nangong Hao severed the extraterrestrial being's legs. "Speak!" The extraterrestrial being was left with only its wings in immense agony, glaring at Nangong Hao with resentment. "Do you not know? I come from beyond, a servant to the prince of the celestial race." Was he merely a dog slave? Nangong Hao furrowed his brow. "A slave? You must be unaware of the formidable strength of the Tianzu. In bygone times, we waged wars across the Guangyuan celestial domain, annihilating countless of your formidable warriors. Even the so-called 7 supreme beings of your world would not dare to offend us. I advise you to immediately accompany me to plead for mercy from the prince. There may still be a glimmer of hope for survival." The being from the outer realm spoke rapidly, filled with pain and terror, yet continued to threaten. Nan Gonghao, having lost all patience, crushed the neck of this outer realm being from afar. The being's face wore an expression of disbelief. Unfortunately, he could speak no more. Beside him, Su Wuhui expressed confusion. Brother, by eliminating him, we lose the chance to discover his intentions. He was attempting to summon his kin through his powers. Drawing them near. I do not have the luxury of time to waste. Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly, soaring into the sky toward the mountain's peak. Su Wuhui, realizing this, sought to follow. You follow them to seek benefits. Nan Gonghao commanded. Very well. Su Wuhui understood that Nan Gonghao detested defiance and could only obediently comply. Upon reaching the mountain peak, Nan Gonghao discovered that it was not solely the Li Long clan present. Several disciples from the Ying NV sect were also there, along with a rebellious young man with a head full of golden hair. The Saint King of the Li Long clan was obstructing them. Upon seeing that Nan Gonghao had finally arrived, Xia immediately shouted, "Quickly use the forbidden device to blast open the passage. I suspect they seek to seize control of the Dragon Emperor's palace." Nan Gonghao disregarded Xia and employed his Tianyan Tong to scan the mountaintop. The peak bore no trees, only a vast expanse of chaotic stones and a cave, simple and desolate. However, the aura emanating from that cave was terrifying, as if it concealed an unparalleled beast. What are you waiting for? Produce your forbidden device. The rebellious youth commanded. We must join forces to combat the Li Long clan. Nan Gonghao frowned and glanced at Xia and the youth. Were you to command me? Hearing this, Xia was enraged. Are you not here for the opportunities of the Dragon Emperor's palace? What is wrong with cooperating with us? The youth grew even more arrogant. Pointing at Nan Gonghao, come here, no one has ever dared to defy my orders. Upon hearing the youth refer to himself as a lord, Nan Gonghao quickly deduced his origin. Only the ancient national powers could bestow titles of kings and lords. Yet, even the mightiest of noblemen would not dare to stand alongside the Ying NV sect. Thus, this youth must belong to the invincible dynasty. Nan Gonghao beckoned the rebellious youth. Come here and apologize. I too despise being opposed. The youth, filled with rage, retorted, You insolent wretch. Do not think your abilities make you remarkable. It is effortless for me to crush you. The disciples of the Ying NV sect exchanged worried glances. It was well known that Nan Gonghao never held grudges. He typically avenged any grievances on the spot. Now that this young lord had provoked him, it was feared that Nan Gonghao would not let him off easily. Indeed, Nan Gonghao swiftly appeared behind the rebellious youth, stating coolly, Then you shall first defeat the Li Long Saint King. I will observe if you possess the qualifications to battle me. In an instant, the rebellious youth found himself transported before the Li Long Saint King. Damn it! The youth quickly drew a sacred artifact to shield himself. The Li Long Saint King unleashed a punch, shattering the sacred artifact and sending the rebellious youth flying. The youth stifled a groan, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, clearly struggling to suppress the urge to cough up blood to avoid embarrassment. However, he could not contain it, and a streak of crimson escaped his lips. Nan Gonghao mocked. Forcing down your blood only exacerbates your injuries. Such a vain creature unworthy of suffering in silence is not fit to collaborate with me. You. The rebellious youth spat out a mouthful of blood in frustration. Indeed, his injuries were severe, making it unwise to suppress the blood. Had he recovered promptly, it would not have been a significant issue. Unbeknownst to him, Nan Gonghao had intentionally provoked him. Consequently, as soon as he opened his mouth, blood gushed forth. The members of the Ying NV sect displayed expressions of helplessness. Yet, they also recognized that Nan Gonghao had no intention of cooperating and ceased further discussion. You are doomed. The rebellious youth gritted his teeth. No one can protect you. Nan Gonghao remained unconcerned, turning his gaze toward the Li Long Saint King. A one-legged chicken and a flying loach could actually join forces. This truly exceeds my expectations. The faces of the Li Long Saint King and the Bai Fong Saint King darkened. The rebellious youth was taken aback. He had not anticipated that Nan Gonghao would dare to provoke two Saint Kings. However, the youth quickly sneered. This lord had almost forgotten. You, Nan Gonghao, hail from the fringes and likely do not comprehend the hierarchy of the Saint Kings, do you? A Saint King is not merely a realm above the saint. It is divided into 4 stages: inquiry, divine, selflessness, and nirvana. I know you killed several Saint Kings upon your arrival in Zhongzhou, leading you to believe yourself invincible. But do you realize those you vanquished were merely inquiry-level Saint Kings, quite insignificant? The two before you are divine Saint Kings, possessing complete worlds within them, commanding laws at will, and capable of altering the rules of any realm. Observing the rebellious youth's incessant prattle, Nangonghao felt a surge of annoyance. Get lost. You, unappreciative of your own situation, the rebellious youth declared defiantly. Today, this lord shall witness how to confront divine Saint Kings. The youth ground his teeth in frustration. Yet at that moment, the Baifeng Saint King issued a warning. Dragon brother, be cautious of this fellow. He has somehow acquired the poisonous dragon's divine powers and can unleash poisonous divine needles. The Lilong Saint King gasped. Poisonous dragon? Such a being is exceedingly rare. How could he possibly obtain such power? Have you fought against him? Yes, I previously imprisoned him, but he escaped. I suspect this body is merely a clone, whereas his true self must be hiding in a nearby location. The Baifeng Saint King replied gravely. Upon hearing this, the Lilong Saint King felt an overwhelming headache and prepared to defend with all his might. Meanwhile, the rebellious youth felt as though he had been soundly slapped in the face. Just moments ago, he had mocked Nangonghao for his ignorance and for attempting to challenge divine Saint Kings. Little did he expect that Nangonghao had already dealt with such beings and emerged unscathed, causing both Saint Kings to exhibit such caution. Nangonghao, however, paid no heed to the rebellious youth, fully aware of the hierarchy of the Saint Kings. He recognized that divine Saint Kings possessed the ability to forcefully alter the rules of an area. For example, the divine net that had previously rendered him powerless was a result of a divine Saint King altering the surrounding laws. Such adversaries are indeed formidable. In preparation for any eventuality, Nangonghao directly activated the Dragon God transformation. As the Bifang clan previously utilized the aura of Longwang Mountain to suppress Su Wuhui's fortune. Achieving a successful ambush, Nangonghao, embodying the true dragon's form, could likewise summon the fortune of Longwang Mountain, amplifying his strength exponentially. The Bifang Saint King retreated swiftly, solemnly declaring, I shall breach the formation. The Lihong Saint King, cognizant that the Bifang clan held no advantage on Longwang Mountain, unhesitatingly surged forward. Transforming into a dragon form of immense length, the Lihong lashed out at Nangonghao with its tail. A colossal strike that stirred the tempestuous winds and bore the weight of heaven and earth to obliterate all in its path. In response, Nangonghao opened his mouth and expelled a poisoned divine needle. The needle, of vibrant green, shot forth in an instant, startling the Lihong Saint King into a hasty retreat. It dawned on him that the Bifang Saint King's words were not mere exaggerations. At that moment, the Bifang Saint King launched himself towards Nangonghao, wagering that the latter could not immediately conjure a second poisoned divine needle. He was indeed correct. Nangonghao could not summon another instantly, and instead employed his spatial divine powers to flee. Where do you think you're going? The Bifang Saint King exhaled a torrent of flames, transforming them into a colossal net that enveloped Nangonghao, constraining all rules. The pathways of space and time faltered, and various laws became ineffective. Kill! The Lihong Saint King, having narrowly escaped the poisoned divine needle, charged forward, unleashing a dragon's roar that shattered Nangonghao's form once more. However, neither the Bifang nor the Lihong Saint Kings dared to lower their guard. They scanned their surroundings, poised for any potential ambush. Chapter 227. Seizing the Dragon Ancestor's Opportunity. Meanwhile, within a concealed mustard seed space, Nangonghao was in slumber, employing the Demeng Tong, Xinju. Through this technique, he condensed an intention, floating effortlessly within the mustard seed space. The moment this space opened, despite being a considerable distance from the Bifang and Lihong Saint Kings, they perceived it instantaneously. Boom! Two terrifying attacks shattered the mustard seed space in an instant. Naturally, the hidden Nangonghao's corporeal form disintegrated. Fortunately, it was merely a duplicate. Nangonghao had numerous duplicates and an abundance of mustard seed spaces. As long as these spaces remained unopened, unless a Saint King well-versed in the pathways of space were present, no one could detect them. Nangonghao's intention avatar floated into a distant mountain cave. The entrance to the cave was fortified with complex and perilous prohibitions, brimming with lethal intent. It was likely that even a divine-level Saint King would find themselves bloodied upon entry. If Nangonghao's true form were to enter, he would likely trigger the array without fail. Reflecting on his own insufficient foundation, Nangonghao mused that had he possessed such an array to protect the Nangong family, they would not have faced such calamities. With these thoughts, he gracefully entered the cave. The depths of the cave were profound, yet illuminated. Adorning the walls at intervals were luminous night pearls, each the size of a human head, radiating a soft, bright glow that was gentle on the eyes. The passage was bathed in light, suffused with dragon energy. As Nan Gonghao proceeded, he noticed that he seemed to be descending, devoid of any traps or formations along the way. It made sense. This was the internal world of the Longwang Palace, the dwelling place of the Dragon Clan. If enemies had already infiltrated this realm, it would signify the complete downfall or even extinction of the Dragon Clan, rendering any further defenses meaningless. Shaking his head, Nan Gonghao continued his descent. Soon, he sensed chaotic energies ahead. The internal world of the Longwang Palace was steeped in a deathly stillness, with the only natural emanation of energy stemming from the intruding beings. Evidently, there were members of the Li Hong clan ahead. Nan Gonghao floated forward and indeed discovered 3 Li Hong clan members gathered before an altar, engrossed in their studies. The altar, square in shape, was crafted from an unknown divine metal, shimmering with an extraordinary divine light. Atop it rested a dragon pearl, the size of a human head, glistening in pure gold and emanating a terrifying radiance, accompanied by the faint echoes of a dragon's roar. The 3 members of the Li Hong clan knelt before the altar, fervently bowing their heads. Leading them was another Saint King, though merely at the level of Wen Dao, who was currently engaged in earnest prayer. Great Dragon Ancestor, we are your descendants, and now that the Dragon Clan is weak, we urgently seek your favor. Please consume the abundant blood offerings upon the mountain and return to us. This utterance, spoken in the Dragon Clan's unique tongue, contained a peculiar magic that continuously infused the golden dragon pearl, aiming to awaken the power within. Nan Gonghao smirked inwardly, bemused by the Li Hong clan's audacity in luring individuals to become sustenance for the dragon pearl. At that moment, the golden dragon pearl trembled slightly, its light flickering, clearly responding to their call. Nan Gonghao instinctively retreated, fearful of being detected. Fortunately, the power of the dragon pearl seemed to have been sealed for too long, and thus had not awakened completely. Who awakens my slumber? A voice steeped in antiquity resonated from within the golden dragon pearl. The 3 Li Hong beings were filled with overwhelming joy. The leading Saint King, with heightened reverence, prostrated further, proclaiming, Dragon Ancestor, we are your descendants, of the Li Hong lineage. Li Hong? Does such a branch exist within the Dragon Clan? The Dragon Ancestor's tone was laced with confusion. Nan Gonghao, upon hearing this, nearly burst into laughter. What an awkward situation. Having traveled great distances to seek kinship, only to find that the ancestor did not recognize them at all. The Li Hong clan members felt equally embarrassed. However, soon a voice from within the Dragon Pearl expressed realization. Ah, I recall now. There's indeed a weak branch known as Li Hong. The Li Hong clan members felt like crying. It would have been better if the ancestor had not remembered it all. Yet the leading Saint King could only lament, thank you, Dragon Ancestor, for your concern. Alas, I did not foresee our clan's decline to such depths. The Dragon Ancestor was filled with melancholy. The Li Hong Saint King, feeling the tension, seized the opportunity to plead. We beseech you, Dragon Ancestor, to bestow your grace upon us, that we may restore the former glory of the Dragon Clan. Very well. It seems the current Dragon Clan must rely on you. The voice from the Dragon Pearl conveyed with reluctance. The Li Hong clan members were ecstatic. Regardless of the Dragon Ancestor's tone, as long as they could obtain the inheritance, they would rise anew. Nan Gonghao, however, felt a surge of determination, his focus unwavering as he awaited the moment the Dragon Pearl granted its legacy. Should the Li Hong clan receive this inheritance first, he feared he would be discovered immediately, and his life would be forfeit alongside those present. Buzz! The golden dragon pearl vibrated, its golden light slowly coalescing into a diminutive 5-clawed golden dragon. Although small, the dragon radiated immense power, clearly embodying the essence of the Dragon Clan's legacy. Yet, as it just formed, it cast a puzzled glance in Nan Gonghao's direction. This is problematic. A jolt of fear coursed through Nan Gonghao as he questioned whether he had been detected. An overwhelming urge to flee surged within him. Yet he resisted the impulse, choosing instead to gamble that the Dragon Ancestor's weakened state only allowed for a sense of anomaly, not a true detection of his presence. Indeed, the Dragon Ancestor hesitated, glancing for a moment before turning away, evidently unaware of Nan Gonghao's existence. Select one to inherit my power, the Dragon Ancestor stated indifferently. The Li Hong prodigy immediately declared with fervor, Dragon Ancestor, I am willing to lead the dragon clan back to its former glory. The dragon ancestor remained silent, observing that no one contradicted the prodigy's assertion, and promptly surged forward to enter the prodigy's body. This five-clawed golden dragon encapsulated the majority of the dragon clan's power. Once obtained, the advantages would be boundless. All the Li Hong clan members prostrated themselves in reverence, including the prodigy, awaiting the arrival of the dragon ancestor's strength. Witnessing this, Nan Gonghao instantly understood that the opportunity had arrived. He quickly lunged forward, solidifying his form instantaneously. This was a peculiar ability of the Demeng Tong Xianju. Without utilizing power, his thought embodiment remained undetectable. Once the power is summoned, it can instantly coalesce into a tangible form, an occurrence most peculiar. At this moment, Nan Gonghao lunged forward, forcefully striking the Lilong Tianjiao aside, just as the power of the dragon ancestor descended and directly entered Nan Gonghao's body. The creatures present were taken aback by this unforeseen turn of events. Nan Gonghao swiftly confined that portion of the dragon ancestor's power within himself, while simultaneously employing spatial divination to escape to the cave's exit. A formation of constraints obstructed his path, yet without hesitation, he charged in and called forth the outside world. Another pocket of space opened, from which a replica emerged, entering the formation while bearing the Yu Huang seal. Nan Gonghao approached the Yu Huang seal, infusing it with the dragon ancestor's power. This strength was vast and terrifying, causing the Yu Huang seal to tremble with both fear and delight as it desperately absorbed and refined the energy. Fortunately, it possessed the myriad Da Dao Sunwen inscribed by Nan Gonghao, allowing it to refine the power, albeit with difficulty, at an accelerated pace. In Chapter 228, encountering an ambush, the pocket of space was discovered. Nan Gonghao found himself ensnared within the formation. Surrounding him, violent forces incessantly assaulted and compressed, seeking to obliterate him. This was the pinnacle formation of the Lilong clan. Even a Nirvana-level Saint King would bleed if they entered. It was terrifying beyond measure. Yet, Nan Gonghao was confident that salvation was imminent. Indeed, from the cave behind him came a resounding dragon roar, crashing into the formation. This was the residual power from the Dragon Pearl, which, though less potent than what Nan Gonghao had consumed, shattered the formation's might in an instant. Nan Gonghao immediately kicked the Yu Huang seal into the pocket space, then activated the laws of time and space to surge toward the Dragon Emperor's palace. The dragon ancestor pursued him with fervor. The two god-level Saint Kings from the Bifang and Lilong clans were bewildered, unaware of what had transpired. In the next moment, the Lilong Tianjiao, who had missed the dragon ancestor's inheritance, emerged, shouting in anguish, "Grandfather, hurry and capture Nan Gonghao. He has stolen the dragon ancestor's legacy." "What? Damn it!" The Saint King of the Lilong clan roared in fury and charged forth. Nan Gonghao's figure flickered continuously, appearing at various locations within the Dragon Emperor's palace. Elusive and impossible to grasp, although the dragon ancestor was immensely powerful and could easily annihilate Nan Gonghao in a single encounter. Even the Saint Kings would require an opportunity to approach him. Nan Gonghao's movements were exceedingly erratic, rendering his whereabouts indeterminate. The beings on the mountainside struggled to ascend, perplexed by the sound of dragon roars. Glancing upwards, they beheld several colossal dragons soaring skyward, twisting violently, their intentions unclear. Suddenly, an observant individual shouted, "Look, they seem to be chasing someone." Immediately, everyone scanned the skies. Indeed, a figure was intermittently appearing in the distance. Although no one could discern the specifics of that figure, it was evident that they were evading using spatial techniques. Within this realm, the only one proficient in the laws of space was undoubtedly Nan Gonghao. Many beings were puzzled, wondering what mischief he had wrought to provoke such wrath from the Lilong clan. Despite their confusion, many reveled in the spectacle, for they noticed that among those pursuing Nan Gonghao was an exceptionally powerful entity. Even from a great distance, they could sense its terrifying draconic might. More importantly, as that dragon took flight, the creatures on the mountainside felt a sudden lightness, as the oppressive forces that had previously constrained them vanished completely. Could it be that the dragon pursuing Nan Gonghao was the legacy of the Dragon Emperor's mountain? Nan Gonghao was being hunted. Could it be because he had seized the inheritance? With such thoughts, a wave of jealousy surged among the beings, their eyes gleaming with greed. "Where are you running?" An iron-winged eagle soared into the sky, charging toward Nan Gonghao. Other beings rushed forth, frantically giving chase. Meanwhile, Su Wuhui hesitated on the mountainside, pondering whether he should assist his elder brother. Reflecting on Nangong Hao's previous instructions, which seemed to advise against approaching recklessly, he decided to continue his ascent up the mountain. Without the pressure, Su Wuhui felt lighter and surged upward with renewed speed. Along the way, he discovered numerous hidden treasures. Dragon blood crystallized into dragon crystals, damaged dragon pearls, and the reverse scales of dragons, among others. Particularly upon reaching the summit, he sensed something within a distant cave calling to him. Curiously, he ventured into the cave only to find an altar adorned with a golden dragon pearl. What a treasure! My brother will surely appreciate this. Su Wuhui remarked with a smile as he approached. Nangong Hao continued to maneuver in the air, refraining from hastily departing the Dragon Emperor's palace. For he understood that escape was not an option. Indeed, the Dragon Ancestor bellowed, "Human pest, you cannot escape. The Dragon Emperor's palace is sealed off by me. Even the laws of space cannot breach it." Concurrently, numerous beings surrounded Nangong Hao, including several members of a new sect and that young lord. However, Shi Ya and her companions were somewhat reluctant to assault Nangong Hao. They were more inclined to observe and see if they could reap some benefits when he was forced to relinquish his treasures. The impetuous young lord wasted no time, executing a series of lethal sneak attacks on Nangong Hao. The other beings shared similar sentiments, harboring deep animosity toward Nangong Hao, and thus held nothing back. Waves of terrifying laws converged, relentlessly encompassing and bombarding him. Despite Nangong Hao's desperate attempts to evade, the Dragon Ancestor's power was overwhelmingly potent, and with control over the Dragon Emperor's palace, coupled with the necessity of diverting his focus to assist in refining the Yu Huang Seal's power. He ultimately could not withstand it, and was struck down by the young lord's electric drill sneak attack. What nonsense about being the first on the ancient saint ranking. It is nothing but empty talk. The young lord laughed heartily. Yet, before he could revel in his triumph, the Dragon Ancestor's furious roar resounded. "Did you think hiding would render you invisible to me?" It was evident that he realized the fallen figure was not the true Nangong Hao. The Dragon Emperor's palace trembled, causing the very heavens and earth to shake, as torrents of violent power surged through the inner world. The encroaching beings were filled with dread, crying out in terror, "Dragon Ancestor, spare us." Some beings met their demise beneath the overwhelming force, reduced to blood mist, leaving no trace behind. Witnessing this scene, the other foreign beings felt an ominous foreboding. Forget about ambushing Nangong Hao. Their sole focus was on survival, and they scrambled to flee. However, when they reached the entrance of the Dragon Emperor's palace, they discovered an impenetrable barrier. No, the Dragon Ancestors' summoned power engulfed the entire realm of the Dragon Palace. The Lilong and Bifong clans fared somewhat better, as they were considered kin. Yet, the foreign beings were subjected to a barrage of explosive forces, their bodies bursting apart, leaving their souls to dissipate. Some prodigies possessed mysterious artifacts that allowed for rebirth elsewhere, which provided them with a slight advantage. Others, however, faced immediate and utter annihilation. The impetuous young lord utilized a forbidden artifact to shield himself. Faced with the Dragon Ancestor, he had no choice but to activate the forbidden tool. The members of the Yingnu sect also possessed a forbidden artifact, but only one, and could only bring it forth to barely hold on. Amidst the ravaging power, dozens of pocket spaces emerged in the sky. Upon seeing these pocket spaces, the beings of the Dragon and Bifong clans were left in stunned silence. If each of those pocket spaces contained a clone of Nangong Hao, could he not summon a vast army single-handedly? Though creating clones would undoubtedly consume a portion of his life essence, it was an undeniably formidable technique. It was the art of replication. Suddenly, the Saint King of the Lilong clan recalled something, exclaiming in shock. He finally realized why Nangong Hao's summoned avatars were significantly stronger than those of others. It was not merely an avatar, but rather a series of replicas, manifestations of the Tao of replication. Upon hearing this, Longzhu was even more astonished. He had sensed that the human who had robbed him of his power possessed at least a dozen kinds of Tao. The existence of both the Tao of time and the Tao of space was already astonishing, yet he also wielded the Tao of replication. How could several supreme Taos coexist within a single individual? With this thought, a deep murderous intent surfaced in Longzhu's eyes. This individual must not be allowed to live, otherwise, he would surely become a formidable calamity. Chapter 229. The Dragon Emperor's palace secured. The Lilong retreated. What are the GZ space? Shatter for me. Longzhu roared, unleashing a torrent of dragon breath. This dragon breath was intertwined with chaotic storms, sweeping across the sky and instantly obliterating entire sections of the GZ space. This was the true power of the ancient True Dragon. The Lilong clan was truly pitifully weak. Upon witnessing this dragon breath, several Lilong became ecstatic. This was the authentic might of the Dragon Clan. Once they obtained the inheritance, they would be invincible, capable of crushing the 7 supreme beings and entering the ancient lands. However, just as the GZ spaces were continuously shattering amidst the chaotic storm, the once indomitable Longzhu suddenly trembled, his power rapidly diminishing. "No, you fools! Didn't you send anyone to guard the Dragon Pearl?" Longzhu erupted in fury. The Lilong were momentarily stunned. They had been too focused on pursuing Nangong how to have stationed anyone to guard the Dragon Pearl. Since this was the Dragon Emperor's palace, none had anticipated that someone could breach the cave and reach the Dragon Pearl. Even if they did, controlling it was another matter. Suddenly, they recalled one exception, Su Wuhui, that fortunate one. I will go and eliminate him. The Lilong Saint King roared in rage and immediately began to mobilize. Fools, it's too late. Longzhu was furious. He could sense his power slipping away and decisively turned to flee towards the Lilong Tianjiao, entering his body. Refinement. The Lilong Tianjiao was taken aback, but the nearby Saint King acted immediately to help him swiftly refine Longzhu's power. Although this was not the complete power of the Dragon Pearl, it was still immensely beneficial for this Tianjiao. Roar! The Lilong Tianjiao let out a pained roar, transforming into a gigantic dragon, yet his scales began to shed continuously, blood dripping as he evolved. "Grandson, endure," the Lilong Saint King bellowed. "This is your opportunity. Once you endure, you will transform into an ancient true dragon." Roar, roar, roar. The Lilong Tianjiao was in a frenzy, yet he understood this was for his own good. He persevered while Nangong Hao, within a realm of GZ, accelerated the absorption of the Yu Huang seal. The portion of power absorbed by the Holy Spirit within the Yu Huang seal did not contain Longzhu's soul. Thus, it would not inherit Longzhu's divine abilities, merely being pure energy. However, this was advantageous for the Yu Huang seal, as it merely needed to refine the energy without worrying about resistance or backlash. Thanks to the assistance of the divine patterns of the myriad things Tao. Although the energy was more abundant, the Yu Huang seal refined it even faster than the Lilong Tianjiao. The Holy Spirit was rapidly growing, generating a formidable soul fluctuation, expressing gratitude towards Nangong Hao. Nangong Hao sensed the progress of the Yu Huang seal and finally exhaled in relief. He could feel his GZ space and replicas vanishing. This was an immense loss. Those replicas were crafted from his life essence and required tremendous effort and source energy. Each was a treasure. Now, with 2/3 of them destroyed, it was heart-wrenching. Fortunately, the power of the Dragon Pearl had been largely plundered, which was somewhat worth it. At that moment, the Dragon Emperor's palace began to tremble once more. Nangong Hao was momentarily stunned, then smiled. Surely, his plan had come to fruition. The beings outside the GZ space were filled with dread. The tremors of the Dragon Emperor's palace represented indiscriminate attacks. Even a few Lilong were violently impacted. Someone had seized control of the Dragon Pearl and usurped the authority over the Dragon Emperor's palace. The Lilong Saint King was furious. "I will slay him." The window-level Lilong Saint King charged towards the Dragon Cave, intent on eliminating Su Wuhui. Yet, before he could reach, he suddenly felt his realm suppressed. His power plummeted from the window-level Saint King realm to the Saint realm. Simultaneously, his Tao power was also restricted. "What the hell?" The Lilong Saint King cried out in terror. The two divine-level Saint Kings present also changed countenance. They had not lost control of their Tao power, yet they were forcibly downgraded to the window-level realm. With their realm suppressed, they could no longer utilize their divine domain abilities. "It is the Dragon Emperor's palace." The Lilong divine-level Saint King snarled. The Dragon Emperor's palace is an ancient supreme imperial artifact. Although damaged in battle, it possesses the ability to weaken realms. What to do? The window-level Saint King was grave. For the moment, he dared not strike at Su Wuhui. Everyone knew that Su Wuhui undoubtedly possessed supreme Tao. Without the capability to utilize divine domain powers to seal him, even divine-level Saint Kings might struggle to capture him. "Let us go." The Lilong divine-level Saint King gritted his teeth and decided to retreat. They could no longer remain. The Dragon Emperor's palace was evidently in the hands of others. Though it was humiliating, leaving now would at least ensure their safety. If they stayed, they would all meet their end. Upon hearing the intention to leave, The faces of the Li Long clan turned dark, filled with utmost reluctance. Yet, the Bai Fong clan members intruded. Don't forget the benefits you promised us. We also contributed, and though we did not acquire the Dragon Emperor's palace, that is your incompetence. Hearing this, the Li Long clan grew even more furious. Yet they could only endure and promise to fulfill the previously agreed terms. Truly, it was a case of losing both the wife and the soldiers. Not only did they have to offer substantial benefits to the Bai Fong clan, but they also lost a significant portion of Longzhu's power in the Dragon Emperor's palace. The Li Long clan and Bai Fong clan hurriedly departed. After all, they were descendants of the Dragon Emperor's palace. And with the Li Long Tianjiao possessing the soul of Longzhu, they still knew how to open the gates. The arrogant young lord quickly followed these individuals. However, the young women of the Ying female sect exchanged glances. They knew that Nan Gonghao would undoubtedly be fine, so they hesitated, contemplating whether to stay. Outside was certainly perilous, and remaining here might be safer. Nan Gonghao cast a discreet glance outside, confirming it was safe, and then emerged. Upon seeing Nan Gonghao, Su Wuhui immediately called out from a distance, "Brother, I have secured the Dragon Emperor's palace." Nan Gonghao was not surprised, for he had previously instructed Su Wuhui to remain at the mountainous waste, intending to leverage his fortune to obtain the Dragon Emperor's palace. Otherwise, why would he have been jumping around to attract the attention of the Li Long and other beings? He could have simply hidden in a corner and refined it within the GZ space. Nan Gonghao merely nodded slightly to Su Wuhui, then turned his gaze to the young women of the Ying female sect who had not yet departed. Upon noticing Nan Gonghao's silence while staring at them, she felt somewhat awkward. "I apologize for what happened earlier, so I do not require your apology. That is meaningless. Leave the Dragon Emperor's palace, or I will escort you out of the inheritance land." Nan Gonghao's expression remained indifferent. These women had previously refused to comply, which had extinguished his interest in cooperation. Furthermore, it was impossible to keep them in the Dragon Emperor's palace. Nan Gonghao would soon face many divine-level Saint King adversaries, and he needed the Dragon Emperor's palace to contend with them. Keeping these women here would only bring endless trouble. Chapter 230. Beings from the outer realm pursue and attack. Xia had long anticipated that Nan Gonghao would show them no mercy. She was merely testing the waters. After being rejected, it was only natural to depart. However, what she did not anticipate was that Ningxia suddenly stepped forward, bowing to Nan Gonghao and apologizing. "I regret our previous misjudgment. We are willing to heed your commands and will offer you 80% of what we acquire from the place of inheritance." Upon hearing these words, the other members of the English female sect were taken aback. Xia was particularly furious. "Ningxia, have you lost your mind? If this news spreads, how will the English female sect maintain its dignity? The elders have yet to appear, which surely indicates some issue. Remaining here will only plunge us into endless peril and lead to our slaughter. Yet, if we leave in such a disgraceful manner, the English female sect will become a laughingstock." Ningxia rebuked her sternly. The formerly enraged, she was rendered speechless. The other disciples of the English female sect also lowered their heads. Indeed, it was impossible for just a few of them to survive in this place. Yet, as disciples of a formidable faction, how could they allow themselves to exit the inheritance site so quickly without being ridiculed? Observing her sister's silence, Ningxia took a couple of steps forward and addressed Nan Gonghao. "If you have needs, I can offer some form of compensation as an expression of my regret for the prior incident." Nan Gonghao regarded Ningxia with indifference. "You are quite astute. I am genuinely curious to know what your compensation entails." Ningxia bit her lip, her cheeks flushed. "The price is my body. Would that suffice?" The expressions of Xia and the others shifted to one of indignation. They perceived Ningxia's actions as disgraceful, as if she sought protection from Nan Gonghao. This was clearly an act of seduction. How base! Nan Gonghao was equally perplexed. "Is your body truly that captivating?" Naturally, it was. Ningxia inhaled deeply. Suddenly, two fluffy fox ears sprouted from atop her head, playfully twitching, exuding an irresistible charm. A magnificent tail emerged from behind her, pure white and fluffy, swaying gently, captivating to the point where one could not resist the urge to stroke it. Upon witnessing this, Nan Gonghao was astonished. "You belong to the Fox clan?" Ningxia nodded gently. Her beauty was already striking, with a slender waist and long, graceful legs, complemented by the adorable fox ears and grand tail. The combination of cuteness and allure had a profound impact on men. Furthermore, as the Fox clan was renowned for their enchanting prowess, Simply revealing her true form caused Nangong Hao's heart to beat a little faster. No wonder you are willing to offer your body as compensation. It is said that women of the Fox clan possess an exquisitely soft physique and can enhance their partner's strength, Nangong Hao remarked casually. Ningxia's face flushed with embarrassment. Yet she could only nod and say, yes, if you desire, I could be at your disposal within the inheritance site. Upon hearing this, Xia and the others wore even more distressed expressions, glaring fiercely at Nangong Hao, clearly disapproving of his potential agreement. However, Nangong Hao had no intention of acquiescing. He merely sought to gauge the sincerity of these women. There is no need for such frivolity. Simply serve as my maid, he replied coolly. At this, Ningxia sighed in relief, though a tinge of disappointment lingered. After all, she had witnessed Nangong Hao's true appearance and knew how exceptionally handsome and extraordinary he was. Although women of the English female sect seldom entertained the idea of marriage, being wed to such a man would indeed be a stroke of fortune. At that moment, Su Wuhui soared from a distance, holding a golden dragon orb, which he presented to Nangong Hao, elder brother. Upon hearing Su Wuhui refer to Nangong Hao as elder brother, the women of the English female sect were utterly astonished. They recognized this figure blessed with exceptional fortune. It was known that Su Wuhui was typically a lone wolf, indifferent to the alliances of the seven great powers or the ancient territories. Yet, he now willingly addressed Nangong Hao as elder brother and presented him with a treasure. What allure did Nangong Hao possess? Let us depart for now, he instructed, grasping the dragon orb and swiftly refining it, thereby gaining control over the Dragon Emperor's palace. Many beings outside had also noticed the Dragon Emperor's palace and sought to capitalize on the opportunity. However, the palace's doors were firmly shut, preventing them from entering. Subsequently, the Li Long and Bai Fong clans fled in panic, further dissuading many beings from approaching. Nonetheless, they remained stationed outside, awaiting their chance. Soon, the Dragon Emperor's palace, which hovered in the mire, began to shrink, ultimately becoming the size of a palm. A few individuals emerged from within. When a myriad beings focused their gaze, they were astonished to find it was Nangong Hao. Expressions of disbelief spread across their faces. Had Nangong Hao truly been the one pursuing the Li Long and Bai Fong clans, causing them to flee in terror? After all, there were two divine Saint Kings inside. How could he be so formidable? Nangong Hao paid no mind to the onlookers and prepared to leave, only to be ensnared by a beam of golden light descending from above. Su Wuhui's fortune had shielded him. However, the other members of the English female sect found themselves enveloped. Nangong Hao looked up to see several figures descending from the heavens. The foremost figure was shrouded in golden radiance, obscuring their features, but exuding an air of nobility that hinted at their extraordinary lineage. Behind them were several winged servants, appearing to belong to the same race as those alien beings previously annihilated by Nangong Hao in the Dragon Emperor's palace. It seemed that the alien creature had summoned its kin before its demise. So it was you who slaughtered my servants? The figure cloaked in golden light inquired imperiously. They sensed Nangong Hao's considerable strength, even recognizing the Dragon Emperor's palace as a supreme treasure. Yet, what did that matter? To this figure, Nangong Hao appeared even more insignificant than the servants behind them. They could easily extinguish him. Nangong Hao remained silent, casting a glance at the distant beings from the Guangyuan heavenly domain. All wore expressions of uncertainty. Clearly, they recognized the figure cloaked in golden light as an alien being. Yet, none approached to offer assistance or support. Some even wore expressions of schadenfreude. They were all waiting for Nangong Hao to falter. Witnessing this, she could not contain her anger. A bunch of shameless wretches. Shouldn't the alien beings be our common enemy? The onlookers were momentarily taken aback. Some felt shame, but more responded with mockery and derision. Please, when you were enjoying the spoils, your formidable faction was always at the forefront. Now that we must confront the alien beings, you expect us to rally together? Someone scoffed. This remark resonated with many beings. Indeed, were not the formidable factions supposed to be invincible? If we cannot contend with the alien beings, then you should take the lead. Not only are you powerful, but your companion Nangong Hao is even more so. He surely does not require our assistance. Why drag us into your troubles? If you have any guts, face the alien beings alone. A chorus of ridicule erupted, with many eagerly anticipating the misfortune of Nangong Hao and his companions. Anticipating this reaction, Nangong Hao was unfazed and did not engage with the crowd. Meanwhile, the alien being enveloped in golden light sneered. A bunch of despicable, insignificant ants. Get lost. Do you think you are worthy of observing me? Chapter 231. Young Master of the Celestial Clan. Begin your performance, the onlookers, hearing the alien being's dismissal, were engulfed in embarrassment and fury. After all, they had just finished mocking Nan Gong Hao and the women of the English female sect. Now, the alien being was openly targeting them. What did this signify? The alien beings regarded them with utter disdain. Not only would they not assist, but even if they did, they would also be scorned. Xia and Ningxia exchanged derisive glances, believing those who were rebuked would gain clarity. To their astonishment, some individuals were indeed retreating in avoidance. This revelation incited fury among Xia and her companions. However, Nan Gonghao had long grown accustomed to the weakness of these individuals. Turning his attention to the figure shrouded in golden light, "Are you of the Celestial Clan?" Upon hearing this, the women of the English female sect gasped, their expressions gravely serious. The beings from the distant Guangyuan Tianyu grew increasingly fearful and retreated even further. A figure bathed in golden radiance coldly declared, "Indeed, it is a privilege for you that I have chosen you. Come forth and submit to me." Nan Gonghao frowned, responding, "I have decided to forgive you because you are a foreigner and have evidently not heard of my reputation. I despise it when others speak in such a condescending manner." At that moment, a servant of the Tianzu emerged from behind, furiously rebuking, "Ignorant fool. It is a great honor for you that our young master of the Tianzu wishes to make you his servant." Nan Gonghao raised a hand and unleashed a surge of sword energy. That was the path of the sword. The servant failed to react in time and was pierced through the forehead by the sword energy. However, he did not perish, as it was clear that his physical constitution differed from that of beings in Guangyuan Tianyu. The Tianzu were devoid of souls, unless entirely obliterated. They could continue to fight even if only a single limb remained. Ningxia softly reminded him, acting like a qualified female servant. Nan Gonghao came to a realization. The Tianzu servant, enraged by his injury, exclaimed, "You are all mere livestock meant for servitude. How dare you sneak attack me? You shall die." The servant was indeed infuriated. The Tianzu had always held themselves above others, mercilessly slaughtering beings in Guangyuan Tianyu, and no one had ever dared to provoke them. When had they ever been so openly humiliated? If they did not slay Nan Gonghao this time, it would be impossible to wash away the shame. The servant flapped his wings and summoned a wind spear, charging forward with incredible speed, leaving countless afterimages that made it difficult to discern his true form. The onlookers were struck with horror, as most could not even catch a glimpse of the servant's figure. If they were to encounter him, they would surely perish on the spot. If such a servant was so formidable, how terrifying must their master be? The Tianzu truly lived up to their reputation as a powerful force from beyond. A crowd of onlookers gazed at Nan Gonghao in astonishment, eager to see how he would respond. Without the ability to invoke the paths of time and space, would he still exhibit the same arrogance as before? The battlefield was ever-changing, and as this thought barely formed in the minds of the spectators, the Tianzu servant had already reached Nan Gonghao. The wind spear thrust downward with the force to shatter mountains. However, Nan Gonghao merely opened his mouth and exhaled a breath. Breath turned to wind. This was a divine ability of the path of wind, powerful and fearsome. A gentle breeze emerged from Nan Gonghao's lips, instantly transforming into a vast and all-consuming tornado. Within the tornado, sharp sword energy surged forth, a fusion of the paths of wind and sword. The Tianzu servant had no time to resist as he was engulfed by the wind, unable to utter a sound before being utterly obliterated. This scene sent a chill through the hearts of all present. Even after losing access to two supreme paths, Nan Gonghao remained impressively powerful, rendering those around him utterly helpless. The figure in golden radiance, witnessing the demise of his servant, coldly uttered, "Worthless. How could you fall in Guangyuan Tianyu?" Hearing his disdain for Guangyuan Tianyu, Xia felt furious and retorted, "No matter how inferior Guangyuan Tianyu may be, it has prevented your four domains alliance from breaching its defenses. Impudent. My master is conversing with your master, and you, a lowly female servant, have no right to speak." A Tianzu servant scolded. As the second sister of the Yingnu sect, Xia held a prestigious position and rarely encountered opponents, save for her defeat at Nan Gonghao's hands. Thus, her pride was considerable. Now being referred to as a lowly servant ignited her fury. "You seek death." With that, she charged forward, delivering a horizontal slash with her sword. The Tianzu servant scoffed and rushed forward, chillingly declaring, "I will capture you and make you a servant for my young master." Xia's sword energy intensified, and the path of the sword trembled as she collided head-on with the Tianzu servant. The formerly arrogant Tianzu servant was cleaved in two by her strike. subsequently shredded by an incomparably violent sword energy. As a top-tier prodigy, Xia's strength was far beyond that of a mere Tianzu servant. At this moment, two Tianzu servants remained, both furious as they charged to slay Xia. Ningxia and the others intended to assist, but heard Xia exclaim, "No one need come. They are but a few insignificant dogs." Ningxia and her companions hesitated briefly, but ultimately refrained from intervening. They understood that Xia aimed to assert the reputation of the Yingnu sect. The figure in golden radiance, witnessing his servants being slaughtered one after another, emitted an increasingly cold aura. "It seems Guang Yuan Tianyu has forgotten its bloody history of your..." Nan Gonghao replied indifferently, "You have become a mere figurehead. What is there to boast about?" With a scoff, the figure finally moved, drawing forth two ornate axes, his aura transforming into a state of fury. Su Wuhui, witnessing this, grinned widely and said, "Brother, allow me to handle this." "Go ahead." Nan Gonghao gestured, conjuring a chair that floated in midair, comfortably seating himself to observe the spectacle. He then glanced back at Ningxia. Upon meeting Nan Gonghao's gaze, Ningxia was momentarily taken aback, then felt a mix of embarrassment and indignation. Remembering her identity as Nan Gonghao's servant, she understood her role. Taking a deep breath to suppress her urge to flee, Ningxia approached, placing her delicate hand upon his shoulder and gently massaging it. The onlookers were utterly astonished by this scene, though they had mocked the Yingnu sect for their apparent willingness to submit. They were well aware that the disciples of the Yingnu sect held men in the utmost contempt. Otherwise, the sect would not consist entirely of women. Yet now, what do they witness? A formidable being of the sage realm, Ningxia, was massaging Nan Gonghao's shoulders. This was undeniably the behavior of a maid. Had the Yingnu sect truly stooped so low? Meanwhile, the young master of the Tianzu, observing Nan Gonghao leisurely seated in the void as if the battle with Su Wuhui was merely a performance for his entertainment, was seething with rage. He unleashed a terrifying power, preparing to strike Nan Gonghao from afar. Chapter 232. The Valiant Su Wuhui Divine Tomb. Su Wuhui, noticing the Tianzu young master preparing to attack, smiled softly, his eyes narrowing innocently. Yet the next moment, he pointed at the Tianzu young master and declared, "Explode." The power of the path of explosion acted directly on the Tianzu young master's body from within. Bang, bang, bang. The young master's body erupted with several gaping wounds. His arm shattered, yet, possessing a unique bloodline, his body began to heal rapidly. Su Wuhui was intrigued. It is not the power of the path, but rather a bloodline ability? The Tianzu young master finally comprehended Su Wuhui's terror and turned, delivering a horizontal slash. The path of the sword. That strike cleaved through the void, threatening to rend the heavens asunder, unstoppable in its sharpness. However, Su Wuhui charged forward without evasion, allowing the void-cleaving blade to strike his chest. Buzz! A golden light flashed, miraculously blocking the blow. In the same instant, Su Wuhui de libertad por full punch. The Tianzu young master conjured a protective shield in front of him, believing it would suffice to withstand the blow. With such formidable defensive power, could it not withstand a mere fist? Unfortunately, it did not hold. The shield was shattered instantly before crashing down onto the Tianzu young master. Boom! The terrifying force erupted, instantly dispersing the golden radiance surrounding the Tianzu young master, revealing his true form. This young master had a furtive appearance, with a hunched back and a pair of wings resembling bat wings drooping from his body, exuding a repugnant and unsightly aura. No one could believe that he was the young master of a powerful race. From a distance, Xia, having slain all the servants, turned to see the young master's visage, instantly filled with disgust and revulsion. "What is that thing?" Others echoed her sentiments, their faces twisted in disdain as they mocked him. The Tianzu young master, inflamed with anger, shouted, "A bunch of filthy, lowly races dare to look down upon me? You shall all die." 3 sacred artifacts were cast aside. Initiating explosion. It was evident that the young master of the Tianzu realized he was no match for Su Wuhui and his companions. He intended to create chaos and make his escape. However, Su Wuhui swiftly waved his hand and summoned a colossal basin, the Gathering Treasure Basin, capable of containing and suppressing treasures. The 3 sacred artifacts, on the verge of detonation, were drawn into the basin and forcibly restrained from exploding. Nan Gonghao, witnessing this scene, displayed a flicker of astonishment. Was there truly something that could suppress the explosion of treasured artifacts? It seemed he could no longer rely on the explosive power of forbidden artifacts in the future. Even more astonished than Nan Gonghao was the young master of the Tianzu. Seeing his sacred artifacts rendered ineffective, he was struck with panic and unfurled his wings, attempting to flee. His bat-like wings were enormous and translucent, swirling with various Tao energies. With a slight tremor, he vanished in an instant, appearing 1,000 miles away. This was the innate talent of the Tianzhu bloodline, the sovereign of the skies. Yet, in the next moment, Su Wuhui also manifested a pair of wings, not an illusion, but clearly an external attachment. With a swift motion, Su Wuhui disappeared from his original position, even faster than the young master of the Tianzhu. Although the Tianzhu young master had fled first, Su Wuhui flapped his wings twice and appeared directly in front of him. Your strength is inadequate, Su Wuhui remarked, shaking his head before extending his right hand and squeezing through the air. The Tianzhu young master felt as though he were being crushed by an immense force, painfully spitting out a mouthful of blood. Release me. He attempted to employ a forbidden artifact, but it was futile. He was imprisoned, unable to manipulate anything. Even his divine abilities eluded him. Su Wuhui continued to exert pressure. The sound of cracking bones echoed as the young master's soul seemed to shatter. Observing this, Nan Gonghao released the Pu Mo grass. Countless white fibers enveloped the Tianzhu young master, beginning to devour everything about him. The young master felt this power and was filled with utter terror. No, let me go. I am of the Tianzhu. Do you wish to perish? Many formidable beings from the Tianzhu are nearby. You will all die. Release me. I beg you. I can offer you countless benefits. Amid the young master's continuous cries for mercy, Nan Gonghao completely absorbed him, acquiring all of the young master's Tao and bloodline powers. It turned out this young master possessed a peculiar energy within his bloodline that allowed for rapid healing. Furthermore, he bore no spatial ring or similar item, only an odd, forbidden artifact. With a detached expression, Nan Gonghao stored the artifact away, remarking, "Not bad. Let us proceed." Su Wuhui nodded, retracting all his power, appearing as a mere follower behind Nan Gonghao. The few members of the British sect did likewise. Meanwhile, the other beings hesitated, pondering whether to follow Nan Gonghao and seize a bargain. Yet, Nan Gonghao was not the type to be easily taken advantage of. As they wavered, Nan Gonghao had already taken strides forward, inquiring of Ning Xia, "Where is the great emperor's inheritance?" Ning Xia, naturally unwilling to conceal the truth, replied, "There are 5 regions where the inheritance might be found: East, South, West, North, and Central. We, along with external forces, have explored all areas, yet discovered nothing. Thus, according to the elders, the great emperor's inheritance is likely hidden in a location that is not easily accessible, such as the Divine Tomb, the Demon Valley, or the Eye of the Storm." Upon hearing these 3 places, Nan Gonghao furrowed his brows. The first 2 should be the burial sites of divine-level Saint Kings and the realm of the demon race. But what is the Eye of the Storm? Ning Xia's expression grew serious. It is the site of the final battle between the Guanyuan heavenly domain and 4 other worlds. The conflict was exceptionally brutal, tearing apart that realm, and it is perpetually shrouded in spatial storms. Yet at the heart of the storm lies a safe haven known as the Eye of the Storm. Some suspect that the great emperor's inheritance is concealed within. Nan Gonghao nodded slightly. In truth, he found a last location more plausible, as spatial storms are among the most terrifying of assaults. Not only is each gust sharp enough to slice through anything, but the storm is also riddled with black holes. A moment of carelessness could lead to being consumed. Moreover, one cannot wield the Tao of space within the storm, lest one provoke a cataclysm. In such a scenario, the outcome would be dire. The great emperor's inheritance hidden that would be exceedingly difficult to uncover without the intervention of a quasi-emperor. Just as Nan Gonghao resolved to venture to the Eye of the Storm, Su Wuhui pointed toward the east, exclaiming, "Brother, I sense something calling to me from that direction." Nan Gonghao raised an eyebrow and glanced back at Ning Xia. Ning Xia promptly consulted a map, her expression peculiar. "That area is where the Divine Tomb is located." She interjected, "Su Wuhui possesses great fortune. Perhaps the great emperor's inheritance has taken an interest in him, prompting this summoning." Others shared the same sentiment. However, Nan Gonghao remained skeptical. Yet for safety's sake, they decided to investigate. After all, whatever could be sensed by Su Wuhui, even if it were not the great emperor's inheritance, would undoubtedly be an unparalleled treasure. "Let us proceed to the Divine Tomb," Nan Gonghao declared as he set off. Chapter 233. The Divine Tomb's Inheritance. Impossible to obtain? The Divine Tomb is not merely the resting place of the strong from the Guanyuan heavenly domain, but also of many external invaders. In the final moments of the great battle, Many powerful beings sensed their impending demise, yet felt unable to depart. Hence, they chose to seal themselves away, preserving a sliver of hope for survival while leaving behind their legacies. Many beings are aware of the origins of the divine tomb. Thus, upon entering the realm of inheritance, they instinctively seek out this place for opportunities. By the time Nan Gong Hao and his companions arrived, numerous beings were already present, scouring the divine tomb for legacies. The divine tomb itself was vast, strewn with countless tombstones, each inscribed with the names of the powerful beings sealed within. There were few additional inscriptions, as those entombed were too proud. After all, they were titans who had suppressed an era, confident that a single name could resonate through time. Above these disordered tombstones, boundless malevolent energy swirled, casting a shadow over the heavens and harming the souls of living beings. Those exploring the divine tomb emitted radiant light to resist the malevolent energy while unleashing their talents to attract the attention of the sealed powerful beings, seeking to gain their legacies. Ning Xia recognized that Nan Gong Hao had never been here and thus might not fully comprehend the circumstances, so she explained softly. To obtain a legacy here, there are two methods. Either unleash your talent to gain the approval of the powerful beings in the tomb, or forcibly open the tomb. Nan Gong Hao nodded slightly, intending to step forward and test which powerful being his talent might catch the attention of when a streak of light shot toward him from a distance. Clang! A long spear plunged into the ground at his feet, trembling incessantly and emitting a resonant hum that threatened to ensnare the souls of onlookers. Nan Gong Hao and his companions lifted their gazes to see Yin Xie hovering above a tombstone, coldly regarding Nan Gong Hao. This was once the resting place of the heroic spirits. You are unworthy to enter. Having died, once publicly, he found this humiliation unbearable. Now, called out in front of others, his fury was palpable. Do not be arrogant. You have no place here. Yin Xie unleashed a surge of purple golden power. Familiar to some, it was the Ziyunju of the Invincible Dynasty's Purple Crown Marquis. He launched a punch, purple energy billowing forth, suppressing all. The Purple Crown Marquis, esteemed as a supreme monarch, wielded a terrifying aura of dominance. And it was said that when he unleashed this technique, he could summon the aid of the 5 ancient emperors, subjugating all races. Yin Xie had only recently joined the ranks of the Purple Crown Marquis, and logically, he should not yet be formidable. Unexpectedly, a purple aura surged from his body, even piercing through the malevolent energy above his head. It was evident that he had truly acquired the legacy of this place. The crowd turned their gazes towards the gravestone beneath his feet, which bore 3 elegant characters, Xie Wufeng. Nan Gong Hao was unfamiliar with Zhongzhou and did not recognize this name. However, Ningxia gasped in astonishment, recognizing it as that of a top noble from the undefeated dynasty, known as the War King, renowned for his military exploits and unparalleled strength. Xia's expression turned grave. It appeared that Yin Xie had indeed obtained the War King's legacy, and here he would receive the aid of the Divine Tomb, temporarily unleashing the power of a god-level Sage King. Beside them, Su Wuhui shrugged, unimpressed. He doesn't seem all that extraordinary. Yin Xie had not been here long and had been engrossed in his cultivation, unaware of Su Wuhui, and retorted, "What are you, to dare judge me?" Su Bui, with a cunning temperament, responded, "That divine tomb beside you is quite impressive. I believe it suits me well." Ha! That is the tomb of the sword Saint Rongmin, who dominated his era and was incredibly arrogant. In terms of strength and status, the sword saint surpasses even the War King. Many prodigies had attempted to claim it, including heirs from powerful factions, yet none were deemed worthy. What makes you think you deserve to covet the sword saint's legacy? Yin Xie scoffed, oblivious to the sympathetic gazes from those around him. Was he not asking for a slap in the face? Suddenly, Su Wuhui approached the gravestone of the sword Saint Rongmin and nodded slightly. "Senior, pardon my intrusion." A sharp beam of light surged forth from the tomb, revealing the inheritance. The light entered Su Wuhui's body, bestowing upon him newfound power. Yin Xie's previously dismissive expression froze, his eyes widening in disbelief. Unsure of what had transpired, a fellow prodigy from the undefeated dynasty quietly informed him, "This is the fateful individual I mentioned earlier. Do not provoke him." Upon hearing this, Yin Xie felt a wave of frustration. Had he known this was that extraordinarily fortunate person, he had intended to show off, only to be met with humiliation instead. Taking a deep breath, he suppressed his embarrassment and anger, turning to Nan Gong Hao. "Su Wuhui is fortunate to gain recognition. I advise you to refrain from trying your luck. With the ancient land's pursuit mark upon you, No legacy here will acknowledge you. This statement resonated with many beings present. After all, the ancient land exerted immense control over the Guangyuan heavenly domain. Under their oppressive influence, even the departed souls would be reluctant to bestow their legacies upon Nangong Hao. Yin Xie regarded Nangong Hao with a smirk of satisfaction. Your talent is commendable, yet you shall not receive any legacy here. Forced to watch these immense opportunities slip away from you. Is it not exasperating? The surrounding beings also gazed at Nangong Hao with mocking smiles. As cultivators, what is more frustrating than not having resources? No, it is having tremendous opportunities laid before you, yet remaining unable to seize them while others do. From a distance, several beams of light flickered. A few beings of mediocre talent and background received the acknowledgement of powerful legacies. They were set to soar to great heights. Witnessing this, Yin Xie laughed even more audaciously. Nangong Hao, do you regret your earlier arrogance? Ningxia could not help but interject. If I recall correctly, Nangong Hao engaged in conflict with the ancient land to protect the Eastern Wilderness region, right? You, Yin Xie, and your family also hail from the Eastern Wilderness and have benefited from him. Why not show gratitude instead of mockery? This remark silenced Yin Xie's laughter. It was indeed a point he could not refute. Xie also looked disdainful. I believe that even if Nangong Hao regrets it, it is for assisting you ungrateful beings. His assistance to the Eastern Wilderness is of no concern to me. Yin Xie's face darkened as he stubbornly countered. Even without him, the Ziguang Marquis would have saved my family. This statement drew disapproval even from those of the undefeated dynasty. Too shameless. When the Eastern Wilderness was in peril, none of the factions courting its prodigies intervened. It was clearly Nangong Hao who bore the pressure from all factions, even taking on the pursuit mark from the ancient land. Chapter 234. War King, God-level Sage King, truly ineffective. Although Xie held no affection for Nangong Hao, she could not help but feel he was being treated unjustly. He truly should not have involved himself with such shameless individuals. Ningxia scornfully chastised him. Others looked on, mockingly at Yin Xie. However, they did not intervene. The conflicts of the Eastern Wilderness were of no concern to them. Instead, they reveled in the spectacle. Feeling the disdain of the crowd, Yin Xie's expression faltered, and he declared in a deep voice, "Today I will prove that my strength does not require his aid. Nangong Hao, dare you face me in battle?" The nearby women immediately considered advising Nangong Hao. Yin Xie had the support of the Divine Tomb's legacy, allowing him to unleash extraordinary power. However, Nangong Hao waved them off. Focusing on Yin Xie, I do not blame the Baiwuguo for leaving the Eastern Wilderness. After all, people seek to ascend just as water flows downward. Yet you, of all things, should never oppose me. If I do not teach you a lesson today, outsiders may think the Eastern Wilderness is filled with shameless, filthy individuals like yourself. Su Wuhui, who had contemplated intervening, halted upon hearing this. Meanwhile, Yin Xie seethed with rage. You merely relied on a piece of imperial artifact to protect the Eastern Wilderness, thinking yourself a savior. Today, I will show you my true strength. As he spoke, a purple-golden aura surged from his body, a fusion of the Ziyun formula and the War King's power. It was wild and domineering. Yet, despite his arrogance, Yin Xie did not stray far from the gravestone, for it granted him a combat power boost, enabling him to wield the strength of a god-level Sage King. Nangong Hao, undeterred, stepped into the Divine Tomb for a direct confrontation. With a flash, he appeared before Yin Xie. Although unable to use spatial divine abilities, his speed was formidable, with the Holy Light Path renowned for its velocity, second only to spatial techniques. In the past, Yin Xie might have struggled to cope with Nangong Hao's swiftness. However now, empowered by the strength of a god-level Sage King, he easily pinpointed Nangong Hao's position, grinning savagely. Weak. You are far too weak. Yin Xie unleashed a punch, the purple aura swirling into a massive fist. This fist was clad in battle armor, stained with blood, exuding an air of antiquity, reminiscent of some legendary warrior from ancient times, having been tainted with the blood of countless foes. Nangong Hao countered with a punch of his own. Boom! The two forces clashed, but Nangong Hao was sent reeling. The reason was simple. The god-level Sage King possessed domain abilities, nullifying the power of the Great Path within his vicinity. However, the Sage King could still wield the power of the Great Path. This was the most terrifying aspect. Witnessing Nangong Hao's retreat, the surrounding beings recognized this reality. Although Yin Xie's use of the gravestone's power was underhanded, it was evident that Nangong Hao was not his match. Even Ningxia could not help but whisper, Nan Gonghao is far too arrogant. He should not have charged in, but rather lured Ningxia out. Had he done so, he would not be Nan Gonghao. Xia, however, understood Nan Gonghao better. After all, she had personally battled this proud individual. The figure that once stood tall amidst thousands of prodigies still left a profound impression on her heart. Much of Xia's resentment towards Nan Gonghao stemmed from her own feelings of inadequacy. The surrounding prodigies felt similarly. They were acutely aware that, fighting alone, they could never hope to match Nan Gonghao. Yet, the more they realized this, the more they yearned to witness his downfall. Ningxia, having forced Nan Gonghao back with a punch, laughed maniacally, questioning whether Nan Gonghao's usual arrogance could still hold in the face of his newfound power. Nan Gonghao remained silent, momentarily conjuring countless phantoms and summoning hundreds of avatars through the path of light, all charging toward Ningxia. These were not mere illusions. Although inferior to the copies of the path, they were still fully realized manifestations of his strength. The sheer number of these avatars was equivalent to the force of several complete Nan Gonghas bearing down on Ningxia. The onlookers were left in a state of shock, their hearts racing with trepidation. Ningxia, however, merely smirked with disdain, declaring the creation of his divine domain. An intangible space expanded from him, rendering the laws of the Great Path powerless within a 5-meter radius. Even Nan Gonghao's avatars, upon entering this domain, were utterly shattered. Devoid of the power of the Great Path, Nan Gonghao had no choice but to engage Ningxia in a physical clash. However, a divine Saint King was far more than a mere master of domains. Their corporeal form was imbued with a unique divine radiance, rendering them almost indestructible. At that moment, as Ningxia shattered Nan Gonghao's avatars, he coalesced a battle blade in his hand and struck fiercely at Nan Gonghao, bellowing that the power of the gods was not to be resisted. This attack sent shivers down the spines of all who witnessed it. Even a Saint King of the Inquiry level would likely be cleaved asunder by such a blow. Could the mere 5-star saint withstand it? Suddenly, the sound of clanking chains echoed throughout the space, leaving the crowd bewildered. Yet soon, someone cried out, pointing toward Nan Gonghao, who was now ensnared by a blue chain emanating a radiant light. It was the locking chain. With a resounding crack, the battle blade struck the locking chain. This chain, cursed by an emperor, was so resilient that only an emperor could hope to break it. How could Ningxia, a mere imitation of a divine Saint King, hope to succeed? The clash of the blade and the chain unleashed a violent surge of energy, yet failed to shatter the chain. Witnessing this, Ningxia's expression turned to one of terror as he shouted in alarm. Unfortunately, it was too late. Nan Gonghao had sacrificed all defense and delivered a crushing blow to Ningxia's face. Ningxia, consumed by arrogance, had focused solely on his attack, and with the limitations of the tomb's boundaries, he could not evade the strike and bore the full brunt of it. It was well known that Nan Gonghao was formidable in the realm of the Great Path, yet this was the first time he revealed the full extent of his physical prowess. Ningxia felt as though he had been struck by a mountain, the unbridled force propelling him far beyond the confines of the tomb. The spectators felt their hearts skip a beat as realization dawned upon them. Who was Nan Gonghao? The heavenly punishment divine physique. This extraordinary constitution not only possessed terrifying talent, but also an indomitable body forged through the trials of divine retribution. At that moment, the blood energy surging from Nan Gonghao resembled a vast sea of crimson, dazzling in its brilliance. As Ningxia was expelled from the tomb's limits, his cultivation immediately plummeted, reverting him to the 7-star saint realm. He had only recently acquired the legacy of a divine Saint King, and even with fusion, time was needed to stabilize it. His previous display of power was entirely reliant on the tomb. Despite Ningxia being a 7-star saint, 2 minor realms above Nan Gonghao, he was still no match for him. Gazing down at the tomb of the Battle King, Nan Gonghao remarked coolly that Ningxia should return and inform the Zigguanhe that the legacy of the Battle King was unworthy of standing against him. With a surge of vitality, he unleashed an overwhelming force, stamping down on the tomb with tremendous force. No! Ningxia screamed in a frenzy. Chapter 235. Cannot kill? Moral coercion? Regardless of Ningxia's frantic cries, Nan Gonghao showed no mercy. He forcefully shattered the tomb of the Battle King beneath his foot. The explosion sent countless shards of stone flying into the air, leaving all the onlookers astounded. They had witnessed many battles for the legacies beneath the tomb, but this was the first time they had seen someone obliterate a tomb with a single stomp. If one could not possess it, then destroy it? Such tyranny was unprecedented. Some were incensed, particularly those from the Invincible dynasty. A young commander clad in azure battle armor stepped forward, furious, proclaiming that it was outrageous to destroy the tomb of the Battle King. Nan Gonghao raised an eyebrow, inquiring who he was. Was he from Ziguanhao? Ning Xia was also taken aback by Nan Gonghao's audacious act of demolishing the tomb. Nevertheless, she quickly approached, explaining that this individual was Xie Budong, the first son of the Ziguanhao, a top-tier prodigy. Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly that he did not seem impressive. Xie Budong, being a young prodigy, was exceedingly arrogant. Cloaked in his battle armor, he glared at Nan Gonghao, declaring that his arrogance would cost him his life. Ignoring Xie Budong completely, Nan Gonghao leaped toward Yin Xie, intent on finishing him off. Stop! Xie Budong did not expect to be so disregarded by Nan Gonghao, who was intent on publicly executing Yin Xie. Given that Yin Xie had just acquired the legacy of the Battle King and was a key talent being cultivated by the Xie family, his death would be a monumental loss. Even more critically, it would be a blow to the dignity of the Battle King and the Ziguanhao. Not only did Xie Budong rage to intervene, but another figure appeared before Nan Gonghao. This person wore a white robe, immaculate and unblemished, with a warm smile that exuded an aura of gentleness. Yet, he also emanated a terrifying and unfathomable presence, clearly a top-tier expert. Young Master Nangong. While Yin Xie has erred, his transgression does not warrant death. I can ensure that he compensates you for his mistakes, the man in white stated with a smile. Nan Gonghao frowned, questioning his identity. I am Yuan Du, the man in white replied with a light chuckle. Upon hearing this name, gasps of surprise echoed around, revealing their astonishment. Yuan Du? Could he possibly be the third prince of the Invincible dynasty? Absolutely. He was the favored son of the Divine Emperor. It was said that he had come to train in order to cultivate capable subordinates to inherit the title of Crown Prince upon his return. This was the future Divine Emperor of the Invincible dynasty. As the crowd murmured among themselves, filled with trepidation, Nan Gonghao, possessing keen hearing, discerned Yuan Du's identity and promptly asked, "Did you just arrive?" Yuan Du appeared momentarily taken aback, expressing curiosity. "I've been here for a while." "Why do you ask? When Yin Xie attacked me, why did you not intervene? Yet now you seek to stop me? Are all those from the Invincible dynasty so hypocritical?" Nan Gonghao taunted. Yuan Du's smile faltered at this. Xie Budong's anger flared as he shouted, "How dare you question the third prince? If you seek death, I can accommodate you." "Enough," Yuan Du said, casting a dismissive glance at Xie Budong. Instantly, the formidable Xie Budong fell silent, clearly intimidated by the third prince's power and authority. Turning back to Nan Gonghao, Yuan Du continued, "Very well, I concede. I have long heard of your esteemed name, Nan Gonghao, and was eager to witness your true strength, which is why I refrained from interfering earlier. As for now, my intervention is not for the sake of the Invincible dynasty. This place is the sacred tomb of legacies, where many beings from foreign realms seek treasures, even intending to usurp our inheritances. Thus, we should unite against external threats. What say you, Brother Nan?" The words uttered drew the nods of numerous onlookers, all in agreement with their profound wisdom. In the distance, those from the outer realm were ever watchful. Yin Xie had indeed acquired a formidable legacy, capable not only of safeguarding his allies, but also of seizing the inheritance of his foes. Moreover, the outcome of this contest had already been determined. Yin Xie faced a significant loss of face, and Nan Gonghao was likely satisfied. As these beings contemplated, their gazes shifted towards Nan Gonghao, eager to discern his next move. Even a venerable sage from afar remarked solemnly, "Nan Gonghao, you have emerged victorious. Your honor has been restored. There is no need for further tumult." Upon hearing this, Nan Gonghao suddenly smiled. Was he the one causing chaos now? When provoked by Yin Xie, none of these individuals had come to his defense. When he was insulted by Yin Xie, they remained silent. When Yin Xie unleashed an attack upon him, bolstered by the divine tomb, these beings had stood idly by. Yet now, as Nan Gonghao sought retribution against Yin Xie, they were urging him to unite against a common enemy. This implied that if he had perished just moments ago, it would have been in vain. Should Yin Xie fall, Nan Gonghao would be deemed lacking in vision and discernment. He regarded these beings with disdain and contempt. At the same time, he recognized that the third prince was indeed a product of imperial lineage, seemingly straightforward, yet adept at moral coercion. Nan Gonghao turned to the dashing and charming Yuan Du, remarking, "Your words carry great wisdom. With external foes at hand, we must stand united." Yuan Du exhaled in relief, nodding slightly. "Thank you, Brother Nangong." His courteous demeanor garnered considerable favor. Furthermore, his ability to diffuse a potentially bloody conflict with just a few words only increased the admiration for his capabilities. An elder could not help but exclaim, with such a son of the divine emperor, the undefeated dynasty could thrive for several epochs. Others echoed their agreement. At that moment, the Jizzy space opened. A clone of Nangonghao materialized silently behind In Xie. With a swift thrust, a spear of holy light pierced through In Xie's form, splattering a cascade of blood. "Ah, you shameless scoundrel, you ambushed me." In Xie roared in agony, caught off guard by the sudden attack. This scene also astonished the other beings, who were bewildered as to why Nangonghao would strike after professing unity against a common enemy. Even the third prince, Yuan Du, grew stern. "Nangonghao, what is the meaning of this?" Logically, the undefeated dynasty was a preeminent force, nurturing exceptional disciples like the third prince, who possessed both strength and a keen sense of the bigger picture. Yet, in this moment of external threat, In Xie obstructed Nangonghao's entry into the divine tomb and launched a reckless assault. Such behavior was utterly irrational. Thus, Nangonghao suspected collusion with the beings from the outer realms. Otherwise, such a lack of foresight was inexplicable. He gazed earnestly at Yuan Du, his expression sincere. The onlooking beings exchanged dubious glances. This rationale was indeed difficult to refute. First, he extolled the undefeated dynasty, then struck. Even Yuan Du found himself at a loss for words, unable to counter the argument. Meanwhile, Siep Budong seethed with rage, his aura surging as he lunged at Nangonghao, intent on eliminating this insolent wretch who dared to slight his family. As Siep Budong charged forth, Nangonghao's expression remained unchanged. In fact, he neither defended nor attacked, merely standing in quiet mockery. Yuan Du, witnessing this demeanor, quickly commanded, "Enough. Cease at once." Siep Budong halted abruptly before Nangonghao, poised to deliver a crushing blow. Yet suddenly froze, bewildered as he turned back. "Third prince? Why, Brother Nan is correct. With a formidable enemy at her doorstep, anyone who dares to strike at a comrade may be suspected of colluding with the enemy," Yuan Du stated coldly. Siep Budong, not lacking in intelligence, swiftly realized the implications. Beads of cold sweat trickling down his forehead. He glared at Nangonghao. "You deliberately provoked me into striking, intending to frame me." "What did I say?" Nangonghao replied coolly. "Enough." Yuan Du interjected calmly. His composure was remarkable, as he even resumed his warm smile. "I agree with Brother Nan. However, for the sake of fairness, let us allow In Xie a chance to respond." "What does everyone think?" Yuan Du asked cheerfully, seeking consensus. Few would dare oppose him, for no one wished to incur his ire, and all were predisposed to reject Nangonghao. Consequently, the crowd nodded in agreement. The women of the Ying Nu sect approached, eager to voice their thoughts. Su Wuhui expressed her dissatisfaction. "What is there to debate?" "Nothing, just granting him an opportunity," Nangonghao consented. Seeing this, Su Wuhui and the others found themselves at a loss for words. Yuan Du smiled and nodded. "Brother Nan, you truly comprehend righteousness." In Xie, having been rescued by Yuan Du's guards, had begun to recover, albeit still somewhat weakened. He approached, casting a cold glare at Nangonghao, and stiffly stated, "I apologize. I should not have provoked you, but I'm not colluding with the enemy. Our past grievances led me to act impulsively, influenced by the malevolent energy from my recent inheritance, so I ask for your forgiveness." The onlookers were taken aback by In Xie's direct apology, but they quickly deduced that it was likely Yuan Du's directive. With In Xie's apology offered, and a seemingly valid explanation, it appeared that Nangonghao had no justification to retaliate. Many beings harbored envy, recognizing that In Xie's acquisition of the warlord's legacy had surely caught Yuan Du's eye for future endeavors. Why else would Yuan Du extend such assistance? Ningxia and her companions discerned In Xie's intentions, sensing that once he fully assimilated the legacy, he would likely turn against Nangonghao again, though the timing remained uncertain. Nangonghao regarded the now protected In Xie and said coolly, "An apology? That demeanor will not suffice. Kneel." "You." In Xie erupted in fury, "Though I struck, I was also wounded by you. Why must you humiliate me so?" Siep Budong interjected sharply, "Nangonghao, do not overstep your bounds." Nangonghao ignored their outbursts. Addressing Yuan Du, "Have you heard of me?" Yuan Du, maintaining his calm composure, nodded slightly, naturally. "Then you should know that I am not one to reason. If he kneels, this matter concludes. Otherwise, you and your companions will be unable to deter me." Nangonghao stated indifferently. He was not unwilling to eliminate In Xie, But the cost of engaging with Yuan Du's group was deemed too high. Having already depleted many clones, he had yet to recover. Moreover, as Inchia had not fully obtained the legacy, even if he were forcibly slain, the power of the warlord would remain out of reach. Only upon complete assimilation would the benefits be maximized. Taking all these factors into account, Nangonghao resolved to temporarily endure the threat and spare Inchia. However, he perceived this as a concession, while the other beings were left utterly astounded. Even Yuan Du was incensed. Was this not excessive? You have triumphed, and Inchia has apologized, yet you still demand that he kneel? It was said that Brother Ningong was fierce beyond measure, and today I have witnessed it firsthand. Yuan Du's tone chilled, yet his smile remained intact. Nangonghao maintained his gaze on Yuan Du, cautioning, "My patience is limited." The onlookers were left speechless. Was this not excessively ruthless? He had even threatened the third prince, who was on the brink of becoming the crown prince of the undefeated dynasty. This fellow truly showed no fear of inciting the wrath of the third prince and prompting the undefeated dynasty to annihilate him in the eastern wilderness. To the astonishment of many beings, after a moment of silence, Yuan Du surprisingly chose to compromise. "Inchia, you were the first to provoke, so kneel." Upon hearing this, Xia Budong was taken aback, momentarily disregarding his respect for Yuan Du, and shouted, "No. This concerns the dignity of the Ziguanho." Inchia, equally enraged, resisted vehemently, saying, "Third prince, Nangonghao, this is clearly an overreach. I will never kneel." Yuan Du barked in order. With a crack, Inchia's legs were abruptly shattered, crushed by an overwhelming force, forcing him to kneel on the ground. My legs!" Inchia cried out in agony, blood gushing from his severed limbs, exposing jagged bones beneath torn flesh. Beside him, Xia Budong let out a muffled groan, as if struck by a colossal hammer, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth as he staggered back. Clearly, Yuan Du was extremely displeased with their defiance. Unable to strike at Nangonghao, could he not discipline these two subordinates? The surrounding beings displayed expressions of horror. Inchia, despite having received a legacy, had yet to integrate it and was not particularly strong. However, Xia Budong, being the direct descendant of Ziguanho and a 9-star saint, commanded mastery over 10 known paths and possessed hidden techniques unknown to others. How could such a figure be injured merely by a shout? To what extent had Yuan Du's power ascended? Many beings felt an overwhelming fear, and some even revealed expressions of submission. Observing the kneeling Inchia, Nangonghao remarked indifferently, "The third prince is indeed wise. I shall take my leave." Yuan Du's expression remained unchanged. "Brother Nangong, will you not join us? We are headed to the Mogu." Nangonghao paused, turning back with curiosity. "What business do you have there?" In ancient times, there existed a reincarnation palace, one of the supreme powers and their ultimate treasure. "The reincarnation seal has appeared in the Mogu," Yuan Du replied calmly. Witnessing these two, seemingly unaffected by the earlier events, engaging in casual conversation, even sharing the opportunity with Nangonghao, left the other beings perplexed. However, Nangonghao perceived nothing amiss. Yuan Du was a master of strategy, each of his moves laden with countless schemes, and revealing the opportunity was merely a means to manipulate Nangonghao. Contemplating this, Nangonghao did not refuse, "If time permits, I will go." "Good," Yuan Du responded without elaboration, his smile unwavering as he watched Nangonghao depart. Shortly after Nangonghao left, several figures shot forth from the crowd. "Third prince, I am Han Shi, and I have just acquired the legacy of an ancient Saint King. I wish to follow you. I am Sun Fong, also a bearer of a legacy, eager to accompany the third prince. I am Abu Nand of the Hujiao clan, ready to lead my kin to pledge allegiance to the third prince, hoping for your assistance in obtaining a legacy." "Me too. So am I." One by one, figures emerged, all seeking to align themselves with Yuan Du. Clearly, they were captivated by his prowess and capabilities. Yuan Du maintained a warm and approachable smile, graciously accepting each new ally. The other beings could not help but marvel. This was the true mark of a person destined for greatness. Although Nangonghao possessed talent and strength, he might not be able to garner such loyalty. Consequently, the people's esteem for Nangonghao diminished significantly. In their hearts, he was far inferior to Yuan Du. Chapter 237. Their legacies will eventually become mine. Nangonghao, accompanied by Su Wuhui and others, ventured deep into the divine tomb. Upon witnessing his direct departure, Ningxia expressed her confusion. "Are you truly going to endure this?" She also found it hard to believe. Nangonghao, who had once been within the Yingnu sect and dare to slay even its elders. How could he fear a mere prince of the invincible dynasty? Killing now would be unwise, Nan Gonghao replied coolly. The others were momentarily stunned before suddenly realizing. Although they had not been here before, they understood the local rules. After acquiring a legacy within the Divine Tomb, one needed time to fully integrate it. Nan Gonghao was evidently waiting for Yin Xie to completely merge with the legacy before striking, allowing him not only to exact revenge, but also to seize Yin Xie's legacy. Indeed, Nan Gonghao was never a person to be trifled with. However, Su Wuhui still expressed concern. Elder brother, are you truly going to collaborate with Yuandu in the Mogu? Being forced to leave by them will lead many to believe you fear supreme powers. If you choose to collaborate again, it may lead to further disdain. Nan Gonghao's expression was peculiar. Do you think Yuandu genuinely invited me? Su Wuhui scratched his head. If not, then what? Ningxia interjected helplessly. Su Wuhui, have you forgotten your own great fortune? Upon hearing this, Su Wuhui's face darkened. So that fellow intends to use me. Furthermore, he had indirectly mocked Nan Gonghao since those beings understood Yuandu's invitation to Nan Gonghao was essentially aimed at you. Su Wui. Yet, Nan Gonghao eagerly engaged in conversation, only to invite more contempt. She shook her head repeatedly, seeing through it all. Su Wuhui grew more perplexed. Elder brother, if you know everything, why did you not refute him earlier? Nan Gonghao smiled slightly. I discreetly tested it earlier. I possess the ancient mark of pursuit and cannot acquire the legacy here. Just now, Yuandu suppressed me, demonstrating his exceptional skill and formidable strength, ensuring many would rally to him. Once his subordinates obtained their legacies, why not also gain numerous legacies? Su Wuhui was baffled, scratching his head repeatedly. What did others aligning with Yuandu have to do with Nan Gonghao acquiring legacies? Yet, Xia's heart tightened as she exclaimed, "You don't mean to slaughter all of Yuandu's subordinates, do you?" The others were equally startled. Nan Gonghao merely smiled, providing no further explanation. Yet this smile conveyed everything. The others gasped in realization. This fellow remained as ruthless as ever. Nan Gonghao surveyed the surrounding tombs, radiating powerful energies, and calmly stated, Ningxia, you all go search for your respective legacies. I will accompany Su Wuhui to find that which calls to him. The members of the Yingnu sect were in agreement. After all, they had entered for the legacies. With the opportunity of becoming an emperor now gone and the legacy of the great emperor elusive, the legacy of the Saint King within the Divine Tomb was more tangible. Furthermore, this area was within the domain of the Guangyuan Tianyu, and no beings from outside dared to intrude openly, ensuring the safety of the women. Where shall we regroup? Ning Tia inquired. At the entrance we just entered, Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly. The group's hearts sank. The Divine Tomb had several entrances, yet Nan Gonghao intended to return there, clearly not planning to let Yin Xie and the others off the hook. However, the women said nothing and proceeded to seek their legacies. Once they departed, Su Wuhui immediately pointed westward. Elder brother, it's over there. I feel it's close. Good, let us go. Nan Gonghao promptly urged Su Wuhui to lead the way as they hastened onward. The deeper they ventured, the denser the Divine Tomb became, and the legacies within grew increasingly potent. Even from a distance, they could sense the terrifying energy emanating from within. As they approached the central region of the Divine Tomb, the atmosphere was thick with ominous energy, forming a shroud of black mist. Were it not for their extraordinary strength, they would scarcely be able to see anything. Moreover, the power radiating from numerous tombs seemed to be resisting something, causing the laws of the surrounding world to become chaotic. Walking here, one could inadvertently trigger some dreadful rule and face an onslaught of attacks, leading to instant annihilation. Countless prodigies had perished in this place, yet people still flocked to it. For the central area held the most extraordinary legacies, including those from foreign realms. Nan Gonghao and Su Wuhui, although formidable in their own right, proceeded with utmost caution. Soon, they found themselves beside a vast canyon that stretched from north to south, its length unknown, cleaving the Shentu in twain. To the east lay the Shentu, inheritance of the Guangyuan Tianyu, while to the west resided the legacy of beings from the outer realms. Above the canyon, several entities were attempting to clandestinely cross over. Some were heading westward, while others from the outer realms ventured eastward. Yet, the air above the canyon was thick with the grand pathways and rules wielded by the powerful from both sides, clashing and intertwining, transforming the canyon into a colossal arena of chaos. Any being daring to traverse the skies above the canyon had to tread with extreme caution, lest they inadvertently trigger the tumultuous pathways of conflict. However, while this was easily stated, the execution proved exceedingly challenging. Among those attempting to sneak across, the success rate was astoundingly low. Observing the anguished cries of those who had failed, Nan Gonghao turned to Su Wuhui and asked, "Do not tell me that the voice summoning you originates from that side." Su Wuhui, equally perplexed, replied, "Indeed, it is from that direction, but I have never ventured into the outer realms." Nan Gonghao found himself at a loss for words, yet a thrill coursed through him. He had never set foot in the outer realms either, despite having dispatched several beings from there, including a scion of the Celestial clan. However, his encounters with the denizens of the outer realms had been far too few to satiate his desire for adventure. Nevertheless, he would not recklessly step into their territory. A sudden ambush would pose a significant dilemma. Tell me the precise location, and I shall investigate. Nan Gonghao resolved to employ the Demang Tong Xianju to traverse there. Upon hearing this, Su Wuhui promptly closed his eyes, emanating a peculiar power as if attuning to something. Nan Gonghao was taken aback, for he sensed vibrations emanating from Su Wuhui that bore a striking resemblance to those of the Demang Tong Xianju. After about the duration of an incense stick, Su Wuhui opened his eyes, drenched in sweat, indicating that sustaining that divine power had drained considerable energy. He began to sketch a topographical map on the ground, pointing to a location and stating, "It is here." "Very well, take a moment to recover, and then assist me in safeguarding," Nan Gonghao instructed as he seated himself in meditation. Su Wuhui produced a holy herb, promptly consuming it in haste to restore his vitality. Observing this, Nan Gonghao felt a pang of sympathy. "Next time, give the herb to me. I shall refine it into a pill for you, enhancing its efficacy." "There is no need for that. I have plenty of these," Su Wuhui replied nonchalantly. With that, Nan Gonghao fell silent. Even the mightiest of factions have limited supplies of holy herbs, yet Su Wuhui appeared to possess an abundance. What more could be said? As Su Wuhui recovered, Nan Gonghao promptly succumbed to slumber, his consciousness drifting away. Su Wuhui clearly sensed this and was astonished, remarking, "What a curious divine ability." Chapter 238, The Powerful Beneath the Tomb. An alliance. Nan Gonghao, utilizing his mental projection, effortlessly traversed the canyon, evading the attention of the celestial rules at play. He gracefully descended into the realms of the outer beings, feeling the equally tempestuous energies surrounding him, and his heart brimmed with anticipation. Bearing the mark of pursuit from the ancient lands, the Shinfu inheritance of the Guangyuan Tianyu did not acknowledge him. But what are the legacies of these outer beings? Eager to explore, he soon discovered that his mental form could not activate the inheritance. He needed to materialize. However, observing several figures in the distance, deep in contemplation of their inheritances, he decided against it. The call of Su Wuhui was paramount. There was no need for unnecessary detours. Following the topographical map etched in his memory, he navigated through the intricate paths and swiftly arrived before a colossal tombstone. Indeed, the one summoning Su Wuhui was a powerful being of the Shentu. Uniquely, this entity exuded a faint mental fluctuation. The Shentu housed not only the deceased, but also ancient beings who, on the brink of decay, had sealed themselves in hopes that someone might one day extend their existence. It seemed that the powerful beneath this tombstone was a living ancient entity. Nan Gonghao was puzzled as to why such a being from the outer realms would summon Su Wuhui from afar. Just then, he noticed two figures approaching in the distance. One was a menacing bird, as dark as ink, save for a single white feather on its forehead, radiating an aura of ferocity. The other was a fearsome beast, adorned with 5 slender tails, its body patterned in yellow, with a green horn protruding from its forehead and a cold gaze. These two beings appeared to harbor deep animosity. Upon their encounter, they exchanged sharp barbs. "I can't believe a creature like you can sense the summons," the beast with 5 tails sneered. The ominous bird retorted with a derisive laugh. "Young beast, your kind has dwindled to just you. Should you not hide away and avoid extinction?" The young beast let out a laugh that sounded like metal striking stone. "Our clan's downfall was for the sake of expanding territories, unlike your clan, which merely survived in obscurity, never partaking in that battle. How dare you seek inheritances now?" Nan Gonghao raised an eyebrow, casting a glance at the young beast. Expanding territories? Was this creature referring to an invasion of the Guangyuan Tianyu? To frame such aggression as noble was audacious indeed. The ominous bird, rendered speechless by the retort, seethed with rage. "Enough of your prattling. Since we both seek inheritances, let us settle this through combat. With a powerful flap of its wings, the bird lunged into the fray, disregarding the chaotic, celestial rules around them. The Zheng Bi scoffed, "Do you fear? Let me witness if the once revered Tian Diao clan still possesses its former might." With a resounding clash, the bird and beast collided, unleashing a terrifying shockwave that reverberated through the surrounding celestial rules. Yet, just as the rules stirred, intent on suppressing the conflict, a wave of mental energy emanated from the towering tombstone, quelling the surrounding tumult. Clearly, it sought for the combatants to engage. Nan Gonghao was perplexed. Why would the tombstone desire such a conflict? Suddenly, he observed two more formidable beings approaching from a distance. Without hesitation, they joined the fray. Thus, for powerful entities from the outer realms engaged in a frenzied battle, Nan Gonghao sensed something amiss. There was a conspiracy afoot. Soon, several more beings arrived, plunging into the chaos. Blood and severed limbs filled the air, cascading to the ground. However, Nan Gonghao soon noticed a bizarre scene. The fallen limbs and blood gradually seeped into the earth, and the mental energy emanating from beneath the tombstone intensified. Nan Gonghao chuckled with disdain, realizing that the powerful beneath the tombstone was deliberately luring these beings into battle to absorb their flesh and blood energy, presumably to revive itself. Deciding to leave, he understood that such a cunning ancient entity likely had numerous tricks up its sleeve. If he were to act out of greed, he would undoubtedly fall into a trap. Yet, just as he intended to depart, he was confronted by an invisible barrier, a manifestation of mental energy. The being beneath the tombstone had constructed a domain of spiritual energy, imprisoning all entities within this vicinity. Although Nan Gonghao was merely a mental projection, he too found himself ensnared. Nevertheless, he remained unperturbed. He could disperse his form to escape. A wave of energy emanated from beneath the tombstone. "Outer realm denizen, if you are willing to rescue this venerable one, you shall obtain my inheritance." Nan Gonghao's gaze flickered, surprised to have been detected. Yet, he remained unfazed, retorting with a smirk, "Did you not say the same to those other beings?" "Indeed, but what difference does that make? As long as you emerge victorious, it shall be as if only you have ever heard my words. Moreover, without their flesh and blood energy, you will be incapable of rescuing me," the being beneath the tombstone declared nonchalantly. This assertion was irrefutable. Nonetheless, Nan Gonghao still wished to remain uninvolved. "If you assist me, not only will you gain my inheritance, but I shall also divulge a secret of this realm." The entity beneath the tombstone sweetened the deal. Such as? Nan Gonghao found himself genuinely intrigued. In this place, unimaginable transformations have occurred, and my awakening serves as a harbinger. The powerful entity beneath the tomb spoke with a grave tone. Upon hearing this, Nan Gonghao furrowed his brow. Was the impending anomaly referred to by this being related to the divine tomb or the entire land of inheritance? "Do you have O's in your realm as well?" Nan Gonghao inquired. The powerful entity beneath the tomb chuckled at his words. "You are indeed intrigued. I vow, should you rescue me, I will bestow upon you the inheritance and true secrets, and I shall never turn against you. What say you?" Sensing the effectiveness of this being's vow, Nan Gonghao felt a sense of satisfaction. "Can the principles of space and time be employed here?" he asked. "Do you possess them? They can be utilized." The powerful entity beneath the tomb exhibited clear astonishment. Meanwhile, Nan Gonghao summoned his true form from a distance. On the other side of the canyon, Su Wuhui was on guard when he suddenly saw Nan Gonghao vanish into thin air, causing him to gasp in surprise. However, he quickly regained his composure, realizing that Nan Gonghao must have gone to retrieve the tomb's inheritance. Su Wuhui hesitated, contemplating whether to assist. Surely, with his fortune, crossing the canyon would pose no challenge. Just then, Ning Xia staggered over from afar, drenched in blood and exuding a weak aura. Upon seeing Ning Xia evidently fleeing, Su Wuhui's expression shifted, and he rushed over. "What is happening?" Ning Xia's face, once filled with despair, now bore a glimmer of hope upon seeing Su Wuhui. "Quickly, go save them. A powerful entity from beneath the tomb has broken free from its seal and is wreaking havoc. My senior sisters are resisting." Su Wuhui was utterly astonished, but did not hesitate. He handed Ning Xia a holy herb and spoke in a serious tone. "Wait here for my brother to return from across the canyon." With that, Su Wu vanished in a flash. He moved with astonishing speed, unfazed by the chaotic rules of the great Tao encircling him. Meanwhile, Ning Xia looked uncertainly towards the opposite side of the canyon, puzzled as to why Nan Gonghao had ventured there. On the opposite side of the canyon, confined within a mental barrier, Nan Gonghao summoned his true form, immediately unleashing an overwhelming gravitational force. The foreign beings engaged in a frenzied battle had yet to react before being suppressed by a terrifying power. They looked on in astonishment, only to discover a powerful entity cloaked in divine brilliance had appeared beside them. "Who are you?" roared the Jun beast in a furious outburst. Nan Gonghao offered no further words, merely gesturing into the void, summoning countless meteors to crash down. The foreign beings had already expended much of their strength and were injured. At this moment, they had no time to recover and hastily fought back. Nan Gonghao navigated through the meteors, arriving behind the Jun beast, condensing a spear of holy light. With a piercing sound, the spear materialized within the Jun beast's body before exploding. The Jun beast let out a wretched cry as its body was torn open, desperately attempting to gather its strength to recover. The Jun beast heard Nan Gonghao's indifferent voice. "Since your kin have perished while expanding their territory in my realm, you shall accompany them." The Jun beast, upon hearing this, was struck with fear. "You are from the Guangyuan Tianyu." With a thunderous roar, multiple spears shot forth, piercing the Jun beast's body. Accompanied by a series of explosive sounds, the Jun beast was utterly obliterated. The other foreign beings, upon learning that Nan Gongghao hailed from Guangyuan Tianyu and was thus formidable, understood the peril they faced and immediately attempted to flee. Nan Gongghao remained expressionless, advancing to slaughter these beings. After all, the powerful entity beneath the tomb had summoned only second-rate talents. Faced with these foes, Nan Gongghao felt no trepidation, effortlessly wielding his power to annihilate them. Chapter 239. Acquiring techniques, the Celestial Clan's encirclement. There were 11 foreign beings attempting to seize the tombstone. After the Jun beast's demise, only 10 remained. Nan Gongghao approached a creature with large ears, resembling a hybrid between a pig and a horse, and struck down with a mighty blow. Skyrending fist. The foreign being cried out in a desperate roar. A colossal fist soared into the heavens, crashing down towards Nan Gonghao's palm. With a resounding crack, the sound of shattering bones echoed as the foreign being was ruthlessly obliterated. The remaining beings felt a chill run down their spines. How terrifying! Why is there such a formidable youth from Guangyuan Tianyu? They sought to flee, but the mental barrier hindered their escape. One being attempted to evade Nan Gongghao with the swift principles of the Great Tao, but alas, they could not outpace his mastery over the principles of space. In a mere flicker, Nan Gongghao easily dispatched 4 beings. At this point, the Qitian eagle was utterly terrified, bellowing in rage. "This is our foreign domain. I have already called for reinforcements. If you do not leave, you will remain here forever." Upon hearing this, Nan Gongghao scoffed, summoning several black holes to devour and annihilate the remaining beings. "You are indeed powerful," the foreign entity beneath the tomb remarked with a hint of admiration. "This flesh and blood should suffice for your breakthrough, no?" Nan Gongghao paid no heed to the being's praise. The entity below the tomb asked in a subdued tone, "So, you deliberately devoured the remaining beings?" Nan Gongghao had indeed used black holes to consume several beings without providing the energy from their flesh and blood to the tombstone, primarily to guard against the possibility of this being emerging with excessive strength. Those not of my kind must harbor different intentions. However, Nan Gongghao offered no explanation, responding coolly, "Come forth quickly." Step back a bit. The powerful entity made no further inquiries, but instead released the mental barrier. Nan Gongghao cautiously retreated to a safer distance. Suddenly, the tombstone emitted a series of cracking sounds, appearing with numerous fine fissures. Then, with a resounding explosion, the tombstone shattered. A torrent of violent energy surged outward, causing the surrounding rules of the Great Tao to turn chaotic. In the distance, faint cries of agony could be heard, indicating that some individuals had suffered unwarranted calamities due to the chaotic rules of the Great Tao. Nan Gongghao paid little mind, for this land of inheritance remained within the territory of Guangyuan Tianyu. Ultimately, these individuals were intruders. Their deaths were well-deserved. The chaotic energies quickly subsided, and a spectral figure materialized in midair. Nan Gongghao had anticipated this. The powerful entity beneath the tomb had undoubtedly been reduced to mere soul, seeking a body to possess. He called out to Su Wuhui from a distance, intending to covet his unique constitution, blessed with great fortune. The foreign entity also gazed coldly at Nan Gongghao from afar, You are quite clever, but alas, cleverness often leads to one's downfall. Nan Gonghao's expression remained indifferent. He understood that this being dared not act against him. Submit to me, and I shall impart all knowledge to you, placing you above all others. The foreign entity declared in a deep voice. Grant me your inheritance, and I shall take my leave, Nan Gonghao replied dismissively. Foolish boy, you will pay the price. The foreign entity's previously calm demeanor shifted to one of arrogance and threat. Yet, seeing Nan Gonghao's disdain, he refrained from breaking his vow, for the oath bound him significantly. A wave of mental energy entered Nan Gonghao's mind. Tian Ming Gong. This technique was complete, specifically designed for the cultivation of the 3 souls and 7 spirits. It was said that when cultivated to perfection, even if the world were to perish, one could retain an undying spirit. This foreign entity had managed to survive until now precisely because of this technique. It comprised 108 levels, and the foreign entity had mastered up to the 80th level, already exhibiting formidable strength. One can only imagine how terrifying it would be to attain the complete mastery. Upon acquiring the technique, Nan Gonghao immediately departed. He understood that the vow made by the foreign entity had a flaw, while this being promised not to take direct action. It did not preclude him from inciting others to eliminate Nan Gonghao. The earlier commotion caused by this being's emergence from the tomb was undoubtedly to attract attention. Yet, Nan Gonghao also realized that if not for the slight loophole left in the oath, this powerful entity would not have been inclined to cooperate with him. One must sacrifice to gain. This has been an eternal truth. Observing Nan Gonghao's retreat, the foreign entity's gaze grew solemn. Gifted with extraordinary talent, formidable strength, and unparalleled strategy, this individual must not be allowed to remain if we wish to launch another offensive against Guangyuan Tianyu. Swiftly, several figures dashed forth from the distance. Among them, 2 divine-level Shengren kings, drawn by the commotion in pursuit of treasures. Upon encountering the ethereal presence of the foreign power, they were engulfed in confusion. Why was a peer-level powerhouse present, and in a mere soul state? The foreign being glanced at the 2 approaching figures and spoke indifferently. I am Tian Gue Zunjia. Is there anyone from Tanku Tianyu who has come to this place? At these words, the 2 divine-level Shengren kings were struck with immense shock. Tian Gue Zunjia. This name had once echoed throughout an era, notorious for its fearsome reputation during the joint assault of the 4 realms against Guangyuan Tianyu. Upon realizing that this ancient ancestor had returned, the other beings dared not utter a word, hastily guiding Tian Gue Zunjia away. Bound by an oath, Tian Gue Zunjia could not directly instruct these individuals to seek out Nan Gonghao and could only depart first. The inhabitants of Tanku Tianyu swiftly received the news of Tian Gue Zunjia's release from imprisonment and joyfully rushed to greet him. Leading the charge was a prince of the Tian clan from Tanku Tianyu. Given that Tian Gue Zunjia's name included the character Tian, it was evident he hailed from the esteemed Tian clan and held a prestigious position. Enveloped in divine radiance, the Tian clan prince exuded an air of nobility, accompanied by numerous attendants. Yet in this moment, he bowed deeply before Tian Gue Zunjia, proclaiming, I pay my respects to the venerable ancestor. The younger generation of the Tian clan is rather commendable, Tian Gue Zunjia remarked, scrutinizing the prince with a sense of satisfaction. However, he soon recalled Nan Gonghao and let out a sigh of disappointment. Alas, he still paled in comparison to that lad from Guangyuan Tianyu. The Tian clan prince, elated by the ancestor's praise, felt his countenance darken upon hearing the subsequent words. Although the joint assault of the 4 realms against Guangyuan Tianyu had ultimately failed, it was due to an unforeseen circumstance. Had that incident not occurred, even if Guangyuan Tianyu had produced an emperor, it would have long been subdued. Consequently, no beings from the foreign realms held any regard for those from Guangyuan Tianyu. To be deemed inferior by his own ancestor compared to beings from another realm infuriated the Tian clan prince, who protested vehemently. The ancestor has just emerged from seclusion and likely does not know that Guangyuan Tianyu has long since declined and is no longer as it once was. How could any formidable experts emerge? Not necessarily. Just moments ago, a lad managed to outsmart me and seize my cultivation technique. Given time, he may truly become a top-tier powerhouse. Tian Gue Zunjia replied calmly. The Tian clan prince was instantly enraged, exclaiming, What? How dare someone scheme against you? Bring that person to me. We must eliminate him. The numerous attendants and guards of the Tian clan exchanged hesitant glances at Tian Gue Zunjia. Realizing he did not refute the command, they suddenly understood. It appeared that Tian Gue Zunjia intended to utilize their hands to eradicate the beings from Guangyuan Tianyu. With this revelation, the Tian clan beings no longer hesitated and rushed towards the canyon. If Nangong Hao intended to flee, he would inevitably have to depart from that direction, regardless of whether he had already left or if he had gone to the other side of the canyon. They would pursue him relentlessly. Chapter 240. Su Wuhui, encircled and robbed of treasures while the servants and guards of the Tian clan scoured for Nangong Hao. Su Wuhui was engaged in battle with the recently awakened divine-level Shengren King. He had obtained the legacy of a divine-level Shengren King, but could only draw strength near the gravestone. Fortunately, he possessed a damaged imperial weapon for protection, allowing him to endure the confrontation. Behind Su Wuhui were the severely injured Xia and others, who had been caught off guard when a gravestone erupted during their search for a legacy. Had they been able to obstruct it with forbidden devices, they would not have suffered such a dire fate. In the distance, several beings watched with trepidation and fear, yet they were reluctant to leave, hoping to glean some benefits. After all, both the divine-level Shengren King and Su Wuhui possessed innumerable treasures. Suspended in the void, Su Wuhui coldly fixed his gaze upon the divine-level Shengren King, questioning. As a strong figure of Guangyuan Tianyu, why do you attack your own kind within the divine tomb? Who are you and who am I? The divine-level Shengren King rasped. Uttering these fragmented words, Su Wuhui furrowed his brow, realizing the being had been sealed for too long and was now mentally unstable. Indeed, upon observing the divine-level Shengren King, he noticed the erratic state, one moment filled with murderous intent, the next weak and tranquil. In response, Su Wuhui retrieved a pure white pill. He usually consumed spiritual herbs raw, making this pill, crafted from rare medicinal ingredients, quite precious. Esteemed elder, this is a Qingxin Dan, refined by a Confucian sage using righteous energy and sacred herbs. It can calm the mind and stabilize your will, Su Wuhui declared, flicking the pill towards the divine-level Shengren King. However, unexpectedly, a long spear shot through the air from a distance. The murderous aura emanating from the spear instantly roused the chaotic Shengren King. With a ferocious roar, the divine-level Shengren King bellowed, "An enemy intrudes." Clearly, his memories were yanked back to the battleground of Ur. The power of the divine realm surged forth, enveloping beings and rendering them unable to wield the power of the Tao. Su Wuhui, protected by the imperial weapon, could resist this force, while the other beings hastily retreated to evade it. Although they should have banded together in mutual aid, the notion of my death does not concern my fellow prevailed. The fate of others was of no consequence to them. Su Wuhui, disinterested in seeking assistance, could only watch in despair as the Qingxin Dan was sent flying by the frenzied Shengren King's punch. Caring not for the identity of the spear thrower, as he was forced to counter the charging Shengren King with a punch of his own. The two fists collided, unleashing a tremendous explosion that sent shockwaves through the already chaotic rules of the Tao. The very fabric of reality seemed to unravel. Countless rules, akin to slaughtering blades, indiscriminately wreaked havoc upon the multitude of beings present. This place transformed into a slaughterhouse. Dozens of onlookers were caught off guard, suffering untimely demise. Xia, using her last ounce of strength, summoned a forbidden device to protect herself and her disciples before succumbing to unconsciousness. Su Wuhui was knocked back by a punch, also besieged by the rules of the Tao. Fortunately, he possessed an imperial weapon. Though damaged, the turtle shell-like imperial weapon could still obstruct the chaotic rules. In the next moment, the Shengren King charged at him ferociously, with the power of the divine realm shielding him, and having once fought alongside these Tao rules, he could navigate the tumultuous rules with ease. Su Wuhui, already at a lower level, suffered further under the assault of the chaotic rules. Meanwhile, the chaotic Shengren King, expending his essence, restored himself to his peak strength without concern for the surrounding turmoil. This battle instantly rendered Su Wuhui completely passive. Boom! The divine-level Shengren King's punch came crashing down. Su Wuhui activated the imperial weapon. Though damaged, it successfully defended against the blow. Kill, kill, kill. You invaders deserve to die. The divine-level Shengren King rampaged. Each strike contained the might of the heavens and earth, terrifyingly powerful. Su Wuhui, sheltered within the imperial weapon, defended passively. In the distance, the onlookers dared not approach. A group, however, hid nearby, reveling in the spectacle. Leading them was Xia. He glanced at the nearby Hu Jiao and remarked, "They say Su Wuhui is a figure of great fortune. I see he is nothing extraordinary, easily dealt with." Beside him, Hu Jiao echoed, I cannot believe I overlooked the crux of the issue. He possesses great fortune, yet it only brings luck to himself while causing misfortune to those around him. Previously, he roamed alone, unable to find an opportunity to counter us. Now that we target those close to him, like Xia, it indeed suppresses his fortune. Xia sneered. Not only does it suppress his fortune, but it also brings us good fortune. With that, he opened his palm, revealing the very Qingxin Dan that had been knocked away by the Shengren king, a treasure that even Su Wuhui lamented losing. This is an exquisite elixir, valued even above the sacred medicine, and is rumored to be able to exchange for a top-tier cultivation technique among the most powerful factions. Xie intends to present it to Zi Guanhou, seeking to redeem the humiliation of his earlier kneeling. However, Hu Jiao expresses concern. What if Nan Gonghao discovers our involvement? Does he possess evidence? Xie sneers in agreement. Hu Jiao nods slightly, then casts a jealous glance at Su Wuhui. This fellow is truly fortunate to possess an imperial artifact. The third prince informed me that there lies a crypt nearby, home to a deranged divine sage's tomb. If we excavate it, we may be able to ambush this fortunate individual and seize all his treasures. Xie remarks cunningly. Hu Jiao's eyes brighten. Let us go. The two immediately depart. Before long, a tremendous explosion reverberates through the air. A tombstone shatters, and another deranged divine sage ascends into the sky. Su Wuhui's complexion changes dramatically upon witnessing yet another sage. While he can endure, the women of Ying new sect may not be so fortunate. Indeed, with the addition of the second divine sage to the battlefield, the rules of the great Tao grow increasingly tumultuous, becoming several times more violent than before. Although there are prohibitive artifacts in place, they too require energy to activate. At this moment, the already wounded women of the Ying new sect can no longer withstand the onslaught. Su Wuhui rushes forward, tossing a handful of sacred medicines. Eat this. However, just as the women reach out to catch them, a massive hand from afar snatches the sacred medicines away. Enraged, Su Wuhui looks up to find stranger, a powerful figure. These women are doomed. There is no need for them to enjoy such precious sacred medicines, the stranger states coldly. The women of the Ying new sect are left in despair, forced to consume their own elixirs. Yet, none can compare to the efficacy of the sacred medicines. Su Wuhui is equally furious. When my brother returns, you shall pay dearly. The unknown strongman's expression stiffens, and he leaves without hesitation. Having gained an advantage, he seeks to depart before Nan Gonghao can corner him. Yet, as he exits, other beings still lurk, watching hungrily. Su Wuhui retrieves a talisman and throws it towards the women of the Ying new sect. Depart. That is a teleportation talisman, capable of navigating even through spatial storms, making it effective here as well. However, just as the talisman descends, another entity, undaunted, rushes forward and seizes it. You shall pay for this. Su Wuhui is truly incensed, thoroughly enraged. He has never felt so powerless, nor has he been so brazenly robbed in public, especially with the lives of his friends at stake. Very well, if you desire it so, I shall bestow it all upon you. Su Wuhui shatters his spatial ring, casting forth dozens of top-tier treasures. Among these are sacred medicines, ancient sacred artifacts, and even some spirit stones to replenish energy, not to mention the blood of ancient divine beasts. Such treasures would make any formidable faction green with envy. As Su Wuhui casts these items, each one creates a sensation. In this crypt, filled with powerful beings and heirs of great factions, the atmosphere is electrified. Many gaze longingly at the treasures, ignoring the chaotic rules of the world around them, recklessly lunging to seize them. Seizing this opportunity, Su Wuhui finally manages to transport the women of the Ying new sect far away. Once they are safe, Su Wuhui smirks, throwing out 8 sacred artifacts, all of the highest caliber. Boom! The 8 sacred artifacts explode simultaneously, unleashing an unparalleled storm that engulfs a significant portion of those scrambling for treasures, along with the items that had yet to be claimed. In an instant, cries of despair erupt, and blood sprays forth. Those who barely manage to escape are left dumbfounded. They realize that Su Wuhui's act of casting away those treasures was merely a ruse to divert their attention. Yet, they cannot fathom why he would choose to destroy the treasures along with them. Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows, Xie cannot help but scoff. These fools. Do they think Su Wuhui is like them? A figure blessed with such fortune would never regard treasures lightly. Beside him, Hu Jiao wears a look of relief. He, along with In Xie and others, had indeed participated in the plunder. However, having secured the most valuable items, they made their swift exit, proving to be a wise decision. The two divine sages, blasted away by the explosion of the 8 sacred artifacts, are grievously injured. Subsequently, Su Wuhui joins his hands and begins to chant a spell. Although In Xie is exceedingly cunning, his knowledge is limited. Curiosity overtakes him as he watches Su Wuhui, questioning, what is this fellow doing? It is a curse from the Tao, able to kill from millions of miles away, claiming lives invisibly. Hu Jiao warns, this startles In Xie. Can it kill anyone? Surely one must know the name, or possess a sample of the opponent's blood. Hu Jiao expresses uncertainty, merely repeating what he has heard. In Xie breathes a sigh of relief, reasoning that such a formidable ability must have its constraints. Aware of limitations, both decide they must leave. Staying longer could lead to complications. They depart together, while Su Wuhui enacts the curse upon the two divine sages. As both divine sages meet their demise, Su Wuhui violently coughs up a mouthful of blood, his complexion pale. The curse from the Tao is indeed formidable. It does not grant one the ability to disregard the opponent's realm. Inflicting curses upon two beings far superior to himself has taken a toll. In the distance, onlookers reveal glimmers of greed. Surely Su Wuhui possesses more treasures, even if there are none left. That imperial artifact alone would suffice for a lifetime of benefit if they could seize it. Observing the avaricious gazes, Su Wuhui remains indifferent, seeking only the women of the Yingnu sect. However, before he can fly far, he sees the third prince, Yu Wendo, approaching with the women of the Yingnu sect in tow. They have been healed, their injuries mended, albeit with some lingering weakness. Surrounded by the third prince's subordinates, the women are well protected. Brother Su, I heard you were besieged by 2 divine sages, so I rushed to your aid. Are you unharmed? Yu Wendo expresses concern, offering a healing elixir. This is a top-tier elixir, nearly equivalent to sacred medicine. Even a dying person would spring back to life upon consuming it. Surrounding beings watch with envy and jealousy, yet they recognize the third prince's intent to win Su Wuhui's favor. Indeed, Su Wuhui is worthy of such an elixir. However, Su Wuhui ignores the elixir, coldly fixing his gaze upon Yu Wendo. Were you the one who ordered this attack? What? Yu Wendo seems puzzled. Are you referring to the 2 divine sages? Su Wuhui does not respond, merely maintaining his cold stare. Yu Wendo's expression darkens. Brother Su, do you truly believe me to be such a shameless individual? Behind Yu Wendo, others display irritation. Su Wuhui, even with your unparalleled fortune, you should not casually accuse the third prince. Do you really think no one can teach you a lesson? Indeed, who do you think you are? Apologize to the third prince at once, or you shall not leave this crypt. What else do you possess besides relying on fortune? Yu Wendo's newly acquired followers, eager to showcase themselves, begin to berate Su Wuhui. Meanwhile, the onlookers regard the scene with mixed expressions. From a conspiratorial perspective, it is certainly plausible that the third prince orchestrated the attack only to feign rescue and garner goodwill. Yet, the genuine and furious expression on Yu Wendo's face does not appear to indicate such a scheme. After all, even in deceit, one cannot leave no trace. Su Wuhui disregards the others, maintaining his cold gaze on Yu Wendo for a moment before retracting his eyes. I will utilize the Buddhist heart communication. You are indeed truthful. It was not your doing. At this, a collective gasp echoes among the surrounding beings. Ta Xintong, Fomen Wushang Liu Shintong Ji Yi. It not only permits the subtle transmission of messages across billions of miles, but also unveils the innermost thoughts of individuals, even leading to persuasion. Legends tell of a great adept within the Buddhist realm who once utilized Ta Xintong to enlighten a prospective emperor. Just now, Su Wuhui was not enlightening Yu Wendu, but rather discerning whether he spoke falsely. Yu Wendu indeed did not lie, yet this did not negate his suspicion. Such a treacherous individual could easily suggest malevolent actions to others. Su Wuhui's icy gaze swept across those gathered behind Yu Wendu. Most exhibited no unusual emotions, save for In Xie and Hu Jiao, along with a few others nearby. These individuals displayed a fleeting flicker of their eyes, despite their attempts to appear composed. Su Wuhui instantly discerned their mischief and acted decisively. Commanding the supreme principles of the cosmos, Su Wuhui waved his hand, summoning a vast expanse of mountains and rivers to envelop the crowd. Xing Shedu, Su brother, why the sudden aggression? Yu Wendu exclaimed, his body radiating divine light. coalescing into a magnificent pagoda that levitated in the air. The Jiangshan Sheiji II, poised to descend, was abruptly halted. In midair, the two divine powers clashed. In Qiye and Hu Jiao exchanged glances and swiftly retreated. The remaining beings surged forward, enraged and intent on attacking. Su Wuhui, you're audacious indeed, daring to strike the third prince. Let's all join forces to subdue him. They rallied, invoking their divine powers against the Jiangshan Sheiji II. Crack! The Jiangshan Sheiji II fissured under the assault, unable to withstand the onslaught. Many beings displayed expressions of astonishment. Though unfamiliar with Yuan Du's pagoda, they recognized the legendary might of the Jiangshan Sheiji II, known to have once obliterated a celestial domain by an emperor's decree. Yet, it now stood stalemated by the third prince. More crucially, why was Su Wuhui's fortune seemingly ineffective? In the past, those who dared to confront him invariably faced dire consequences. Could it be that Su Wuhui's current actions were unjustifiable? Was even the heavenly Tao, which had always favored him, reluctant to assist against the third prince? Many beings exchanged furtive glances, yet none noticed that a few members of a new zone, who intended to aid, had been restrained. After all, their presence was essential to temper Su Wuhui's immense fortune. Nonetheless, Yuan Du remained cautious, resolved to conclude swiftly to avert unforeseen complications. He engaged while maintaining a facade of sincerity. Su brother, you must have misunderstood something. Please allow me to explain. Su Wuhui's aura surged once more, manifesting myriad principles. With his great fortune, he was no lesser than any top-tier genius in a contest of strength. He had simply been disinclined to cultivate or employ divine powers previously. Now, fighting with full might, though somewhat rusty in skill, he would not be easily subdued. However, Yuan Du sensed the shift in power. Su brother, your inherent goodness and lack of ambition in cultivation render you formidable, yet ultimately inferior to me. I do not wish to bully you, but you seem deeply mistaken. Thus, I must first apprehend you before explaining. With that, a glint of cold light flickered in Yuan Du's eyes, and the pagoda above spun, releasing a terrifying force that crushed the Jiangshan Sheiji II and the myriad principles. Su Wuhui, taken completely off guard, was overwhelmed by the onslaught from Yuan Du's subordinates. They regarded him with disdain. What was fortune? Who was unaware that Su Wuhui never trained? With his fortune temporarily suppressed, could they not triumph over him with their numbers? Roar! Two dragon roars shattered the air from afar, emanating golden light and immense ferocity. It was the great Dawei Tianlong of the Buddhist sect. Two golden dragons charged into the torrent of attacks engulfing Su Wuhui, resulting in a tremendous explosion. Chapter 242, Enenhenhe Hao Dishens, battling Yun De Bom. Golden light erupted, precisely obliterating the descending assaults, yet inflicting little harm upon Su Wuhui himself. Clad in the imperial turtle armor, he remained unscathed amidst the barrage, though a massive pagoda descended to suppress him. Yuan Du was employing his full strength. The pagoda bore a fearsome power capable of subduing Su Wuhui's incomplete imperial artifact and even stifling his fortune. Yet Su Wuhui merely sneered, softly intoning, I curse you all to stumble in place. The surrounding beings found this laughable. Indeed, Su Wuhui resembled the legends, possessing great fortune and living a carefree life, resulting in his innate goodness akin to a child. Now, witnessing his inability to contend with them, he resorted to such juvenile antics, cursing them to fall. Yet in the next moment, those who sought to attack found themselves tumbling to the ground, their assaults abruptly halted. Not only them, but even Yuan Du staggered momentarily. However, golden light erupted from him, dispelling a shadowy haze that stabilized his form. The crowd stood in bewilderment, unsure what had transpired. They had merely felt a sudden slip beneath their feet, leading to their falls. Yet at this moment, they recalled Su Wuhui's childish curse. Could this be the power of the cursed Tao? What sorcery was this, requiring no names or blood? A wave of horror washed over the beings present. Just then, a figure shot in from the distance, crashing down amidst the crowd like a meteor. With the figure's descent came countless wisps of white fluff and an overwhelming gravitational force. It was Nangong Hao employing the devouring divine power. Beings screamed in terror, but it was too late for escape as the white fluff enveloped them, swiftly taking root and draining their essence and souls. Simultaneously, 7 or 8 beings faced a similar fate. Others struggled against the entanglement, barely managing to cope. Soon, a barrage of meteors rained down, delivering a fatal blow to those already barely holding on. A series of spattering blood sounds erupted, and Yuandu's recently acquired subordinates suffered devastating losses. Witnessing this, Yuandu's expression darkened instantly. He turned to the imposing figure standing at the center, his presence radiating confidence, and coldly remarked, "Nangong brother, this is rather excessive, for they did not seek to slay Su Wuhui, but acted in self-defense." Anyone could find no fault in this statement. After all, it was evident to all that Su Wuhui had initiated the confrontation with Yuandu. Throughout, Yuandu had maintained his composure, clearly possessing immense strength, yet refraining from its use. His subordinates had only acted due to Su Wuhui's provocation, which was somewhat justifiable. In such circumstances, Nangong Hao's arrival and subsequent annihilation of Yuandu's subordinates was indeed unreasonable. The surrounding beings looked to Nangong Hao, eager to see how he would justify his actions. After all, failing to offer an explanation would be untenable. Yuandu was the third prince of the Invincible dynasty, a potential future heir, even a divine emperor. To humiliate him was tantamount to opposing the Invincible dynasty. Yet, what they received instead was Nangong Hao's cold retort, "Did I not grant you face?" Upon utterance of these words, the crowd erupted in astonishment. No one had anticipated Nangong Hao's outright refusal to reason and his bold confrontation. Yuandu was momentarily taken aback before responding with sardonic mirth. "You are truly unreasonable. Yuandu, they say you're destined for the throne. Yet I find that hard to believe. You lack the qualifications, for you are far too naive. I do not deny that you have studied numerous treatises on intrigue and are adept in scheming. However, have you ever considered how I might act if I chose not to engage in a battle of wits? If I simply wished to end you with a single strike, would you not find those schemes utterly trivial and laughable?" Nangong Hao relentlessly pressed forward towards Yuandu, each word striking at the heart. As Yuandu's countenance darkened, descending to an icy chill, he refrained from retorting. The words spoken were echoes of wisdom imparted by his own master. Strategy and truth reside solely within the realm of one's might. Previously, Yuandu had outmaneuvered many with his cunning, reveling in his perceived superiority of intellect. It was only today that Nangong Hao roused him to a startling realization. Those whom he had previously outwitted were all beneath him in strength or status. It was no wonder his master had urged him to venture forth. It was to impart the lesson that guile does not prevail at all times. Yuandu's expression flickered, but he soon regained his composure. After all, his intellect was matched by formidable strength, and he coolly declared, "Nangong Hao, you are correct. If you refuse to reason, then further discourse would be futile. Thus, the only course left is to subdue you by force." With that, an overwhelming aura of dominance erupted from Yuandu, bearing down upon Nangong Hao. Unperturbed, Nangong Hao summoned his own power to counter. The two stood in opposition, their energies clashing, disturbing the very fabric of the surrounding realm. Witnesses, aware of the peril, hastily retreated. As anticipated, the chaotic energies threatened to unravel the very laws governing this space. The tumultuous atmosphere surged forth, distorting time and space. Nangong Hao found himself unable to wield the paths of time and space while grappling with the surrounding tumult. Conversely, Yuandu, shielded by his precious tower, faced no such dilemma. He transformed into a streak of light, hurtling towards Nangong Hao. Without flinching, Nangong Hao surged forth, his blood coursing violently as he augmented his bodily fortitude. From a distance, Su Wuhui threw the turtle shell imperial artifact toward Nangong Hao, enveloping him in its protective embrace. The ensuing collision erupted in a cataclysmic roar, echoing far and wide, leaving those nearby breathless and chilled to the bone. Surely, a mere brush from such a clash would obliterate them. Yet amidst the chaotic laws of the realm, both Nangong Hao and Yuandu emerged unscathed. In tandem, Nangong Hao unleashed a punch imbued with gravitational force, tearing asunder the encircling chaos. Yuandu, undeterred, retaliated with a punch of his own, accompanied by a kick that lashed out like a frenzied dragon's tail. Nangong Hao manifested the path of fortitude to withstand the onslaught. The air resonated with two thunderous impacts as both combatants staggered backward. With a swift motion, Yuandu unfurled a folding fan, not an artifact, but a manifestation of divine power. A gentle flick of the fan conjured a tempest, destabilizing Nangong Hao's stance. In response, Nangong Hao unleashed the radiance of the holy light, fracturing into countless luminous duplicates that surged towards Yuandu yet, as Yuandu fanned the tempest. The gale proved so ferocious that even the ethereal light clones, immune to physical attacks, could not approach. It was evident that this was a convergence of paths, transcending mere manipulation of the wind. However, as Yuan Du orchestrated the storm, he suddenly stiffened, retreating with haste. At that moment, a sharp sword aura erupted where he had just stood. Yet he did not linger, continuing his rapid withdrawal, exhibiting remarkable wisdom. A barrage of sword auras, seemingly from nowhere, relentlessly pursued him. Yuan Du became elusive as the wind, dodging the incoming blades with a staggering grace akin to a drunken man on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, his formidable consciousness scoured for Nan Gong Hao's whereabouts. Soon, he detected a fluctuation in a certain location and pointed skyward. A blinding white light descended, a harbinger of obliteration. This power, imbued with the essence of annihilation, had the potential to extinguish worlds. In the vicinity, mere curiosity at the sight of this devastating light rendered many beings blind, their souls grievously wounded. Panic spread among the onlookers, who swiftly averted their gazes. It was no wonder they spoke of the third prince as the most likely heir to the throne. Such terrifying might could indeed crush an era. Had Nan Gong Hao wielded the paths of time and space, many might have believed he could withstand such an onslaught. Yet now, the consensus among the gathered was grim. Nan Gong Hao was in peril. The descent of the obliterating light left Su Wu Hui aghast. He had thought himself capable of contending evenly with Yuan Du, but the revelation of this divine power made the disparity abundantly clear. Had it not been for Nan Gong Hao's timely intervention, Yuan Du's lack of murderous intent might have sealed Su Wu Hui's fate. With unwavering determination, Su Wu Hui fixed his gaze upon the point where the obliterating light would strike. Even his blood streamed from his eyes. He yearned to witness how Nan Gong Hao would oppose this cataclysm, concealing himself within the shadows of the dark path. Nan Gong Hao felt the weight of the impending obliteration. His expression grew grave as he summoned forth a fearsome aura, one that radiated divinity and the promise of a new era. With a thunderous force, this majestic power erupted from Nan Gong Hao, coalescing behind him into a towering silhouette. Emerging from the chaos, this figure exuded an energy that stabilized the tumultuous laws of the realm. Though many beings had diverted their gazes, the pressure emanating from this silhouette instilled dread in all who sensed it. What manner of power was this? Was it the obliterating light? No, it was not. That light was suffused with a sense of destruction. Yet this power stood resolute like a mountain, fierce as a celestial being. Could it be the return of a former emperor? Su Wu Hui, witnessing the figure behind Nan Gong Hao, fell into a stupor. In that moment, Nan Gong Hao, with a solemn expression, launched a fist towards the descending, obliterating light. The silhouette mirrored his strike. Light and fist clashed, yet in that instant, the world fell silent. No explosion resounded, nor did any energy ripple forth. This left many beings who had closed their eyes in fear bewildered. Why had the commotion ceased so abruptly? Had they both drawn back? Yet the astute among them sensed the peril and began to flee in earnest. Su Wu Hui wasted no time turning to escape. The next moment, a resonant hum echoed as the already fractured space was utterly annihilated. A colossal black hole materialized above the divine tomb, drawing forth an inexorable tide of chaotic energy. This chaotic essence, one of the most formidable forces in existence, appeared light, yet bore an unimaginable weight. Before it, any power that had not reached the quasi-emperor realm was rendered insignificant and laughable. As the tombstones shattered under the onslaught of the chaotic energy, those unable to flee met a tragic end. The majority were Yuan Du's guards and a few newly acquired subordinates. Now, most of them lay slain. Following their collision, Nan Gong Hao and Yuan Du swiftly retreated, for even they needed to evade the crushing force of the chaotic energy. However, as they distanced themselves, anguished cries erupted from the graves, a cacophony of pain, fury, and chaos. A smile crept across Yuan Du's face. In that instant, Nan Gong Hao recalled the words of the powerful being from the outer realms. The divine tomb had undergone an unfathomable transformation. Could this change signify the release of the saintly king sealed within? A tremor coursed through Nan Gong Hao's heart as he glanced at Yuan Du. This fellow betrayed no sorrow for the demise of his subordinates, clearly indifferent to their fates. The smile upon his face suggested he had anticipated this outcome all along. Nan Gong Hao melted into the crowd, refraining from further confrontation. Su Wu Hui also brought several members of the Ying New Zone with him. Elder brother, what shall we do? Su Wu Hui asked solemnly. Do not rush. Yuan Du desires those broken seals of the divine level Saint Kings, so we shall not grant him his wishes. Nan Gonghao replied with a smirk, closing his eyes to begin resting. A thought projection silently descended into the chaotic aura swirling around. Soon, the powerful beings sealed beneath the tomb crawled out from their graves. They had been sealed for too long. Even if they retained some consciousness, they were still dazed and confused. Nevertheless, without exception, they exuded a formidable presence. Rumors stated that the invasion war of Ur had annihilated countless powerful beings and severed many lineages, resulting in a significant weakening of practitioners in this era. The emergence of these divine-level Saint Kings at this moment corroborated that notion, even in their disoriented state. They were far more powerful than the Saint King guards brought by Yu Wendu. I am the third prince of the Invincible Dynasty. Yu Wendu, I congratulate you. Esteemed seniors, on breaking your seals and rejoining the world, the Invincible Dynasty has prepared a banquet, and I humbly invite you to partake, allowing you to acclimate to this new era. Yu Wendu's voice thundered, resonating clearly in the ears of all beings present. He was confident that the Invincible Dynasty, a great power existing long before the emergence of the Land of Inheritance, would entice these sealed strong beings. Indeed, some of the more powerful entities quickly regained their senses and expressed astonishment. The Invincible Dynasty still exists? Does my Mo Luo Zong still possess a legacy? Upon hearing this, Yu Wendu's eyes flickered, and he replied gravely, Mo Luo Zong has long been conquered, but the Invincible Dynasty knows who your enemies are and can offer assistance. Clever lad, I shall follow you. Although the Mo Luo Zong's strong presence was dissatisfied, they did not refuse. Other strong beings gradually awakened, realizing that the era they inhabited had drastically changed. Aligning with the Invincible Dynasty was indeed a wise choice. Alas, the Invincible Dynasty truly possesses great strength, enduring through many eras yet still standing strong. I have nowhere else to go. Joining you poses no harm. I require divine medicine for recovery. Are you willing to provide it? In the Battle of Ur, I was nearly shattered. I merely wish to pass down my legacy. Is the Invincible Dynasty willing to assist me in finding a prodigy? These Saint Kings incessantly presented their demands. Yu Wendu smiled, agreeing to each request. No matter how absurd, he was able to accommodate them all because the Invincible Dynasty possessed everything. Furthermore, Yu Wendu believed that as long as he secured these powerful beings, his position as the Crown Prince would face no threats. However, just as Yu Wendu was reveling in his excitement over gathering numerous powerful allies, a figure suddenly appeared among them. It was Nan Gonghao. Nan Gonghao manifested his true form, casting the Dragon Emperor Palace to envelop all the divine-level Saint Kings and directly capturing them within. The Dragon Emperor Palace, though incomplete, was an imperial artifact devoid of spiritual energy, rendering it incapable of replenishing itself. These divine-level Saint Kings had just broken their seals and had not yet had the chance to recover. Now imprisoned within the Dragon Emperor Palace, they had even less opportunity to restore themselves. Seeing that Nan Gonghao had seized his people, the previously elated Yu Wendu was instantly consumed by boundless rage. Damn it, where did you acquire this imperial artifact? Earlier, during their confrontation, Nan Gonghao had not utilized the imperial artifact, leading Yu Wendu to believe he lacked one. Nan Gonghao replied indifferently, Do I need to report to you about my actions and possessions? Yu Wendu's expression darkened, his eyes brimming with murderous intent. Observing this, Nan Gonghao mockingly retorted, Do you recall what I mentioned earlier? Are you still intent on telling me that strategy is futile and that strength reigns supreme? Are you truly so confident you can best me? Yu Wendu coldly questioned. Nan Gonghao smiled. It appears you remember. However, I must retract my statement, for strategy is indeed useful, especially against someone like you, who is devoid of intellect, yet believes himself to be clever. These words infuriated Yu Wendu to the core. He possessed an extraordinary physique, the supreme king body. Upon his birth, the phantom of the ancient five emperors manifested, allowing the divine emperor of the Invincible Dynasty to comprehend the unparalleled technique of the five emperors' sovereignty, a method capable of ascending to emperor status. After Yu Wendu matured, the divine emperor personally taught him this technique, and he cultivated at an astonishing pace. Furthermore, he was among the most astute of all princes and princesses, mastering anything with ease, which earned him immense favor and a smooth path throughout his life. However, today he had been toyed with by Nan Gonghao and had his carefully planned divine-level Saint Kings snatched away. This series of events drove Yu Wendu to the brink of fury. You are even more deserving of death than I imagined. Yu Wendu's murderous intent was unrestrained. The surrounding beings shivered in fear as they realized that henceforth, not only would the ancient lands pursue Nan Gonghao, but the Invincible Dynasty would also exhaust all efforts to hunt him down. After all, Nan Gonghao's words had thoroughly trampled Yu Wendu's dignity into the dust. With murderous rage surging within him, Yu Wendu was about to strike. However, he was suddenly met with a series of sharp cracking sounds echoing around them, accompanied by waves of terrifying energy fluctuations. Clearly, the divine tomb was reacting, and the powerful beings sealed beneath were preparing to emerge. Witnessing the abnormal fluctuations from one tomb after another, Nan Gonghao quickly urged, "We must leave." Su Wuhui and the members of Yingnu Zong sensed the impending danger and hurriedly fled. The slightest disturbance had already caused the rules of the world surrounding the divine tomb to spiral into chaos, leading to chaotic attacks. Now, with a significant portion of the divine tomb reacting, the peril was undoubtedly far greater. Indeed, just as Nan Gonghao and his companions made their escape, the power emanating from the divine tomb seemed poised to annihilate the world. Even those divine-level Saint Kings could do nothing but retreat. Many beings withdrew from the divine tomb, distancing themselves. They witnessed a massive vortex forming above the tomb, crackling with thunder and lightning, with the rules of the Great Way flickering. Occasionally, chaotic energy would burst forth, crashing to the ground and creating vast craters. Seeing this terrifying spectacle, the onlookers trembled in fear, hastily retreating. She expressed her regret. What a fearsome power. Are we unable to enter for the foreseeable future? Indeed, Nan Gonghao affirmed. He sensed that this power was continually escalating. Although the progression was slow, it remained steady. This indicated that the fluctuations would continue to spread outward, though it remained uncertain how long it would last or how far it would extend. Surely, it could not envelop the entire land of inheritance. However, as Nan Gonghao glanced at the distant Yu Wendu, he finally comprehended why the land of inheritance, rife with opportunities, had been prioritized by this individual in seeking the divine tomb. Evidently, the Invincible Dynasty had anticipated the anomalies here and aimed to seize the advantage. Yet, they had not foreseen being forcibly interrupted by Nan Gonghao. Now that chaos had erupted within the divine tomb, Yu Wendu could no longer venture inside to contend for those sealed beings, but could only hope they would emerge of their own accord. However, once these sealed beings emerged, would the Invincible Dynasty still monopolize them? Fuming with anger, Yu Wendu turned to survey his surroundings, locking onto Nan Gonghao's position, intent on causing trouble. Just as Yu Wendu and his companions were about to approach, several figures suddenly shot over from a distance. Among them were several elders from the Yingnu Zong. Upon seeing the elders, she was filled with joy and called out, "Elder Mu, we are here." With the arrival of these individuals, Yu Wendu's expression tightened, and he quickly retreated, leading his people away. Elder Mu of the Yingnu Zong took the lead and soon arrived before Xia and the others. Upon their reunion, Elder Mu exhaled a sigh of relief. "We were just deceived and trapped in a certain location, but we managed to break free." Xia expressed her astonishment. Was it the doing of the extraterrestrial beings? Ning Xia ground her teeth. Perhaps it was Yu Wendu. Hearing this, Elder Mu gazed at Ning Xia in surprise and inquired, "What leads you to believe that?" Xia promptly recounted the events that had transpired, emphasizing how they had been covertly harmed by Yu Wendu's people and subsequently placed under house arrest. Although the women lacked concrete evidence, they had witnessed Su Wu Hui's capabilities with their own eyes. Thus, when Su Wu Hui claimed that Yu Wendu was responsible for the mischief, they naturally believed her. Elder Mu's expression turned icy. The Invincible Dynasty is provoking war. Meanwhile, the other powerful figures who returned with Elder Mu also wore grim expressions. Almost all the elders of the 7 supreme forces had been imprisoned, while those from the Invincible Dynasty emerged unscathed. It was impossible for them not to harbor suspicions towards the Invincible Dynasty. However, Nan Gonghao shook his head and said, "Yu Wendu has indeed committed misdeeds within the divine tomb, but it is unlikely that they are the ones who imprisoned you." Elder Mu frowned and replied indifferently, "Why is that? The Invincible Dynasty is not so foolish as to offend several other supreme forces at once. Your imprisonment should be the work of extraterrestrial beings. I encountered a few extraterrestrial beings before who infiltrated the crowd with the intent to cause harm. Of course, I suspect that while the Invincible Dynasty may not have participated in this incident, they were likely aware of potential issues in advance and thus evaded trouble. Otherwise, all 7 of the supreme forces would have been imprisoned, allowing the extraterrestrial beings to wreak havoc." Nan Gonghao analyzed. Although Elder Mu was furious, he found some merit in this reasoning. The Invincible Dynasty was indeed arrogant, but it was unlikely they would dare to offend multiple powerful forces simultaneously. Elder Mu turned to Nan Gonghao. There is still one question. Since the extraterrestrial beings have orchestrated the imprisonment of us powerful beings, they should also target our disciples. Why have they not acted against them? Nan Gonghao replied coldly. What use is it to kill a few disciples? They intend to utilize your identities to infiltrate the Guang Yuan Tianyu and carry out more insidious deeds. If all goes as expected, there should already be individuals impersonating you, having left the place of inheritance for Guang Yuan Tianyu. Upon hearing this, the elders of the new sect turned pale with alarm. Chapter 245, Chaos in the Place of Inheritance. Departure blocked the elders of the new sect gathered together to discuss Nan Gonghao's analysis. They recalled that the news of the emperor's inheritance had reached them through two extraterrestrial beings who had infiltrated their ranks. Perhaps Nan Gonghao's analysis was correct. This was indeed a conspiracy of the extraterrestrial beings. With this thought in mind, they hastily sought out members of other supreme forces for consultation. It appeared they intended to venture out to prevent anyone from impersonating them and causing harm. Meanwhile, Nan Gonghao turned to Su Wu Hui beside him. Heavy losses? You could say that. One of my spatial rings was completely emptied. Su Wu Hui sighed. How many spatial rings do you have? Nan Gonghao, having learned from past experiences, inquired due to Su Wu Hui's collection. About 7 or 8. That one was the least valuable. Although Su Wu Hui said this, he still felt a twinge of pain. Nan Gonghao shook his head in resignation and said, Remember those individuals? I will help you retrieve them later. We cannot allow them to think they can act with impunity. Su Wu Hui chuckled. My belongings are not so easily taken. They bear cursed markings. Once touched, they will carry a mark that can be tracked at any time. Nan Gonghao nodded, as long as we can locate them. Just then, the elders of the new sect returned. They had reached a consensus to temporarily leave this place. Nan Gonghao was puzzled. Is it permissible to leave freely from here? Ning Xia kindly explained the opening period of the place of inheritance lasts around 100 years. During this time, one can freely enter and exit. Realizing, Nan Gonghao asked, Are you all leaving? Yes, I advise you to accompany us. The divine tomb has undergone unknown changes, and staying here poses a risk, Elder Mu said flatly. Nan Gonghao glanced at the swirling vortex above the divine tomb, hesitating. He held little interest in the inheritance of the divine tomb, yet he was eager to explore the Mo-Gu. His primary motive was to seek out the reincarnation palace. Although he had obtained the reincarnation path of Dizong, it remained incomplete and could only be used with difficulty. If he could acquire the inheritance of the reincarnation palace, he believed his combat prowess would significantly increase. Furthermore, the name Mo-Gu itself hinted at connections to the MOU. Observing Nan Gonghao's indecision, Elder Mu promptly asked, Do you wish to go to Mo-Gu or the Storm Eye? What is the matter? Nan Gonghao raised an eyebrow. Mo-Gu has also experienced unknown changes, and the casualties among the Buddhist sect personnel have been severe. The Storm Eye is even more fearsome, emanating ominous death energy. Some suspect it conceals the body of an emperor, which has undergone a transformation, making it temporarily inaccessible. Therefore, if you truly wish to probe, I suggest you wait a while before proceeding, Elder Mu advised, considering the favor Nan Gonghao had shown in protecting Xia and the others. Upon hearing that all 3 locations had undergone abnormal changes, Nan Gonghao felt disheartened. It seems that fate has not favored me. Under normal circumstances, how could the ancient land allow such openings? But there's no need to dwell on it. Time will bring calmness to this place, Elder Mu confidently assured. For even if time could not restore tranquility, the 7 supreme forces would join forces to forcibly restore order. Nan Gonghao ceased further contemplation and, accompanied by Su Wu Hui, strolled away. Elder Mu then looked at Xia and her companions. None of you managed to secure an inheritance? Xia and her companions lowered their heads, feeling somewhat embarrassed. Given the tribulations they had faced recently, it was a miracle they had not perished, let alone aspire for an inheritance. Elder Mu felt a tinge of disappointment, but said nothing further. After all, many beings had failed to obtain an inheritance due to the anomalies within the place of inheritance. It was not a source of shame. All right, let us depart. We shall discuss matters upon returning to the sect, Elder Mu stated as he led the women outside. Ning Xia cast a lingering glance at Nan Gonghao. Though their time together had been brief, this exquisite Fox Clan beauty had already developed feelings for him. After all, she had witnessed Nan Gonghao decisively subduing most of you when due subordinates and rescuing her fellow sisters. while Su Wu Hui had also intervened. Nan Gonghao's unparalleled dominance had truly left a lasting impression. However, as Ning Xia observed Nan Gonghao leaving without a backward glance, a bitter feeling welled up within her. Perhaps, for Nan Gonghao, taking Ning Xia as a servant was merely a source of amusement or a means to have someone to attend to him. After all, with the strikingly beautiful Qin Shui Yao sisters by his side, how could he possibly care for other women? Ning Xia was left to grapple with her sorrow and the deep-seated imprint of that man in her heart. Beside her, she had noted her disciple's dazed expression and felt a surge of frustration. That scoundrel Nan Gonghao, why did he possess such charm? Following the departure of the Ying new sect members, the other supreme forces also began to withdraw. Many factions followed suit, but a significant portion of rogue cultivators and smaller factions chose to remain. They had no sufficient resources or opportunities. If they truly sought to ascend to greatness, they had no choice but to fight relentlessly. Even knowing that remaining could lead to a perilous fate, they were determined to seize that slim chance. Nan Gonghao, accompanied by Su Wu Hui, approached the exit and said calmly, "Let us part ways here." Su Wu Hui, curious, asked, "What's wrong?" "There are likely many individuals waiting for me outside." A sardonic smile played on Nan Gonghao's lips. Upon hearing this, Su Wu Hui chuckled lightly. "What does that matter? I am content as long as I am with my elder brother." Although Su Wu Hui did not utter grandiose phrases about loyalty and brotherhood, Nan Gonghao sensed the unwavering resolve in his tone and chose not to press further. The two walked together towards the exit. Yin Jie, did Nan Gonghao truly head to the outer realm to conspire with the powerful beings there? Outside the entrance to the land of heritage, a figure adorned in radiant purple light and crowned with a regal diadem solemnly questioned. Yin Jie knelt in fear upon the ground, hastily declaring, "My lord, I witnessed it with my own eyes." Nan Gonghao traversed the Shuntung Gorge using a peculiar divine ability, entering the other side, only to be personally returned by a celestial-level sage from beyond. Numerous beings surrounded them, particularly the 7 supreme elders, whose expressions shifted unpredictably upon hearing Yin Jie's words. Some were filled with disbelief and hatred, while others remained indifferent, for they believed Nan Gonghao deserved his fate. Even if Yin Jie were lying, it would not deter them from taking action. Ning Xia of the Ying Nu sect, however, was infuriated, pointing an accusatory finger at Yin Jie and exclaiming, "You speak utter nonsense. Nan Gonghao has made several attempts on your life. If you truly witnessed him consorting with beings from beyond, why would he spare your wretched life?" In response, Yin Jie's face flushed with indignation as he retorted, "Then why has he attempted to kill me repeatedly? Is it not because I uncovered his secrets?" Ning Xia was left speechless, her anger rendering her incapable of further argument. Although she harbored a deep-seated hatred for Nan Gonghao, she too questioned, "Yin Jie, if you are aware of such matters, why did you not speak of them in the land of heritage?" "I did inform the third prince. It is precisely because he knows the truth that he sought an excuse to confine you. After all, your closeness to Nan Gonghao raises suspicions about your loyalty. Unfortunately, you fail to recognize a benefactor's heart and instead seek to complain to your elders, claiming we have bullied you," Yin Jie boldly asserted. This remark not only left the accusation of Nan Gonghao's dealings with beings from beyond unaddressed, but also cast the confinement of the Ying Nu sect's members as a misjudgment, with the third prince portrayed as a well-meaning savior. This enraged the women of the Ying Nu sect. How sinister! Surely this scheme was devised by the cunning third prince, Yu Wendu. Yet, they found themselves unable to provide compelling evidence to counter this narrative, left only to hope for Nan Gonghao's emergence to intellectually overpower his adversaries. Chapter 246. The Pursuit of the Celestial Clan and the Collapse of the Passageway. Outside the entrance to the Land of Heritage, many beings were gathered, sensing the imminent storm of danger. After all, not only had the Purple Crown Marquis of the Invincible Dynasty arrived, but the Holy Demon Sect had also dispatched a true celestial sage. The leader of the 18th Peak of the Sword Sect had come personally, and both the War God Palace and the Broad Blade Sect had sent their formidable warriors. Strangely, the Ying Nu sect had sent no one, merely accompanied by their celestial sage, Xia, and her companions, while numerous alien powerhouses, particularly from the Li Long clan, were seething with agitation. They all awaited the emergence of Nan Gonghao, ostensibly to interrogate him about his alleged collusion with beings from beyond. However, the truth was evident. The 7 supreme elders could no longer contain their desire to strike at Nan Gonghao. At that moment, Nan Gonghao was making his way through the passageway, which was shared by many others hastening outward. Su Wu noticed a figure not far behind, an elderly man, hunched and blending into the crowd, unremarkable among the many aged cultivators from the Guanyuan celestial domain who sought to enter the land of heritage, trading their final years for a sliver of fortune. Yet, Su Wuhui regarded the old man with indifference, stating, "You were the one who stole my teleportation talisman. Were you not?" The elderly man, who had been quietly keeping his head down, suddenly displayed a look of shock, realizing that despite his disguise and efforts to remain inconspicuous, he had been recognized. Nan Gonghao halted his steps as Su Wuhui continued. "You also took my ancient true dragon blood, my earth yuan pearl, and my fire grape sacred herb." Su Wuhui pointed out one by one the individuals who had pilfered his belongings within the passage. Their faces grew dark with distress,